A Beasley Media Group station live from the Comcast Business Studios. 97.5, The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5, The Fanatic, and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I found it pretty interesting yesterday. We went through the way too early, mind you, power rankings of the NFL from ESPN.com, and they had the Eagles 5th despite the collapse last season. So what does that tell you? Also, Phillies first team in Major League Baseball to 30 wins, and Aaron Nola dazzled yesterday, and it's a big day today. Schedule release day, which means tomorrow, W's and L's day on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
Stars in cities, especially like Philadelphia, they are always on the map, and we should expect more winning out of them.
And we'll go to the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. I am a believer that your best player, I think there is also a responsibility as the team spokesperson.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Wednesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. John, you're not running from it. Tomorrow's a big day, W's and L's day. You're not running from it.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little...
We will call you. I don't care how sick you are. We'll call you on the Comcast Business Hotline.
What's great is that it also falls on the day of my 6-month post-cancer checkup.
Oh, okay.
So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow where I will... I'll contribute my insights to things, and then we'll do some Mount Rushmores.
It's easy. You just got to pick 2 letters.
Who's your best Mount Rushmore Sixer? And then we'll do like who was the kid who was the player whose batting stance you copied when you were a kid?
I can't wait. Tomorrow is going to do that all day tomorrow.
Why don't we do all those shows in one?
Why not?
Just one day,
segment.
get it out of here.
Each segment.
We can get rid of them, yes.
Well, each segment we're going to break down the games, too.
Oh, yeah, we got to break it down.
Why it's a W or an L. It's going to be a fun day tomorrow, but we got to get through today first.
Yes.
And today is an exciting day because we find out what the Eagles' schedule is tonight. We'll find out what the entire schedule is league-wide tonight. 8 o'clock, the ESPN special, and we'll be speaking with Adam Schefter at 8 a.m., 12 hours ahead of the special on ESPN when we find out what the schedule is tonight.
I demanded a leak last week.
Yes.
I demanded a leak from him. So we'll see if he brings it to the table.
And he has tweeted out a few.
Yeah, I'll just go. He's most likely just going to say, screw you.
Right.
Or in the middle of the call, you're going to hear him.
Yeah.
You're going to hear him that he's getting a call and he's texting someone a message, and then he'll break something right after he hangs up with us.
Now, what's amazing?
I can't wait.
So I can't wait either. It's an exciting day, and we're going to get into a lot of Eagles talk today because we got into this a little bit yesterday. It was just focused on during a segment. So I saw before the show yesterday the preseason NFL.com power rankings. Now, I'm sure this is going to be adjusted again because there are still more free agents that are out there. Trades will probably still happen. And, oh, by the way, the schedule does need to come out, right? We need to find out exactly what the schedule is because you'll find out the good spots for teams, the bad spots for teams. But we went through it a little bit yesterday. And I'll remind you that the Eagles came in 5th. They are 5th in the ESPN.com NFL Power Rankings well before the season starts. I get it. It's very early. We're still 4 months away from the start of the NFL season. But they came in 5th. The teams that they are behind are the Detroit Lions at 4th, the Baltimore Ravens at 3rd, San Francisco 2nd, and Kansas City 1st. So just 2 NFC teams ahead of them. So that means they are the 3rd highest NFC team on these power rankings. And I find it very interesting, right? Because last year, down the stretch, you could have made the case that they were the worst team in football, right? Going on a 1-6 stretch.
It was arguably terrible.
I mean, they were horrible. They weren't clicking offensively. They weren't clicking defensively. It was just an absolute mess. And yet, league circles, at least ESPN, the people that cover this league inside and out, had them 5th in the power rankings. So that tells you that the league is still expecting big things out of the Eagles this season. That tells you that there is a respect with this roster. There's a respect with the coaching staff, the new look coaching staff that includes Kellen Moore and also Vic Fangio as the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. It shows the respect of Howie Roseman, the moves that he has made, a lot of which have been criticized by Eagles fans when they were made. But they still have him 5th.
We'll put him in the pyramid. If you were to do the pyramid right now of what you think when all of these ESPN, so it's all the ESPN writers from all the different cities that vote for this. Why do you think in priority order do you think they're so high on the Eagles? Do you think it's Do you think it's I would think it's the new coordinators first. But it might be.
I think it's talent first.
It might be Saquon Barkley and C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
It might be, yeah.
And the draft.
Yeah.
It could be that. You see, you're thinking talent above coordinators.
I think talent first.
I'm thinking coordinators slight edge above the talent that was added.
Okay.
Because I don't think a lot of the writers really understood the Saquon Barkley thing or really respect it as much as the fan base does.
Right.
As much as we're excited about it.
But I also wonder, like, if you're a guy from afar.
Right.
Now, we still don't. Here in Philadelphia, we still don't know what the hell happened last year.
No, we don't.
We don't know the exact story. We've heard things, right?
Wild stories.
You know, Kenneth Gainwell says that people weren't talking to each other. Lane Johnson says that the 49ers ripped out their hearts, right? We started hearing some things. We started putting pieces together. Jalen Hurts never had the back of Nick Sirianni. Was there a beef between the two of them? Having Jeff McClain on a weekly basis, he has told us that relationship between Hurts and Sirianni needs to be nurtured.
That was the word he used.
Nurtured.
That's the one I couldn't remember.
Not completely fixed.
No,
it's not that they hate each other.
They need to work at it.
And so you hear these things and you start putting two and two together. All right, there are issues inside the locker room. It wasn't just because of the lack of talent in the secondary, lack of talent in the linebacker position. Clearly there was something going on. But my guess would be if you're a reporter and you cover the Houston Texans, right, you're probably thinking there's no way that collapse happens again. Like, that would be my guess for somebody that doesn't cover the Eagles, that just goes, all right, there's no way a team could start 10-1 and go 1-6 again, because it's only happened twice in NFL history, and the first time was in the 80s for the New York Jets.
Well, it also requires you to say, do you believe the Eagles were closer to the 10-1 team or closer to the 1-6 team?
I think the 10-1 team. I think there were issues in the locker room. I don't think there are issues with the talent.
Here's the problem is that I don't know that if you do believe it's issues in the locker room, and it seems like that has been hinted at, if not reported, that there's major
hinted,
that caused them to. I always wonder if issues in the locker room, does that mean you stop going to work? Like, does that mean you stop playing hard? Does that mean you like where's your professionalism? I find it hard to believe because the offensive line was getting owned.
Yeah.
The defense looked like a bunch of, it was like the scab players coming in. Like when they brought in guys off the street.
Right.
It was that bad. So I always wonder if you're having trouble with someone at work, does it cause you to just mail it in and not be a professional anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I wonder about how much was talent.
Right.
That the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator were totally overmatched.
But then you have moments like the Giants game. I think it was the second time they faced the Giants where the guy jumped over the line of scrimmage, went helmet to helmet with Jalen Hurts.
And nobody reacted.
Not a single lineman, nobody.
What does that tell you?
Usually there's a scrum. The second that happens, if you sneeze on the quarterback, there's a scrum. Somebody pushes and shoves. No, there was absolutely nothing. They just waved it off, and they were like, all right, I guess we move on to the next play. And if I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm looking around like, oh.
No, he didn't. The weird thing is he didn't look around like that, which tells me he knows exactly why people weren't lining up to maybe that there were issues going on.
Well,
I'm
hoping that those issues are solved.
I bet they are.
And I'm, again, Jeff McClain, who we were joined by yesterday, was telling us that he expects that stuff to get better next season, probably because it's been made a point of emphasis. I would imagine that it has been made a point of emphasis, and now that Jason Kelsey is gone, Fletcher Cox is gone, you can't rely on some of the guys that have been here to talk to the media. Like, other people are going to have to step up. But I want to find out from you today at 610-632-0975, phone line or text line. What does it say to you that ESPN has the Eagles 5th in their NFL.com power rankings in the month of May, knowing that the team completely blew up last year to the point where you could make the case the offense didn't even show up to a playoff game, right? The offense didn't show up to a playoff game, and the coaching staff was a mess, but they still have, despite all those troubles, the Eagles 5th. And then I'm also going to ask this second part question to it. Are you buying it? Do you buy that the Eagles are the 5th best team in the NFL right now on paper?
I believe they are a top 5 offense.
Okay.
I don't know.
That doesn't mean that they're the 5th top 5 team.
I don't know if they're a top 5 team, and I'm going to tell you something later. I'm channeling. I wrote a piece for the website about John Clayton, the professor from ESPN, who would evaluate a schedule and look at things, and he would tell you that the Eagles have a horrible schedule.
I believe we're doing that at 7:30, Johnny.
He has that they have
7 o'clock.
That they have a horrible schedule by using his standard. I have done this for like 15 years, what the professor taught me about how he would do it.
Right.
It doesn't. It's bad. Is what he would tell you. It's a bad schedule.
Now, I will say this. I don't think people put together power rankings based off of the schedule.
No, I don't think
I
they
really
do
don't. I think they just go talent, coaching, probably history of a franchise, respect of a franchise. But it's interesting. The teams behind them. The Houston Texans are one spot behind them. The Houston Texans are a rising team, and oh, by the way, they have a quarterback on a rookie deal, so they were able to make some moves that a lot of teams probably wouldn't be able to if their quarterback was on that first big contract. The Miami Dolphins are 2 spots back. I'll still believe that the Miami Dolphins are a bit of a fraudulent team.
I will also.
So I'm not going to really be fearful of the Dolphins. The Bills are 8th. We'll see who they are this year. Now they don't have Stephon Diggs. So the Cincinnati Bengals are 9th. That's a team that I expect to probably climb up as the season goes on. And then your Week 1 matchup with the Green Bay Packers are 10th. And that's another team that I might think can climb up in these power rankings. But are the Packers a better team than the Eagles? I don't think so, because if we're talking about defensive issues, they got it too.
And one of the things that I always like to look at is when the team comes out of nowhere to make a big splash that nobody was expecting. Last year, Detroit, no one expected them in the NFC title game. Houston, they just came out of nowhere from being one of the worst teams in the NFL to winning a playoff game and playing in the next round. I think both of them could take steps back. I don't think either of those teams are necessarily the Eagles.
Okay.
But I'm also, you asked the question, and I am absolutely buying in.
That they are the 5th best team in the NFL.
That they're right. That's the neighborhood they should be in.
Okay.
That is exactly where they belong. And if they aren't,
oh, it's a problem.
That's a huge problem.
And then that means Nick Sirianni's head will roll.
It's
and
a huge problem.
There's going to be questions about Jalen Hurts.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be a tumultuous time in Philadelphia. So let's hope that's not the case. Again, I said it yesterday. I think that they are contenders for the NFC Championship game. So the fact that they're right there with the Lions and 49ers, the teams that were in the NFC Championship game last year, I think this makes total sense. So I want to hear from you, 610-632-0975. What does it say to you that the people that cover this league inside and out have the Eagles as the 5th best team right now in the NFL? And are you buying it specifically? Are you buying it that the Eagles are a top 5 team in the NFL 4 months before the season even kicks off? I also want to turn our attention to the Phillies. Another great freaking win yesterday for the Fightins and a great outing from Aaron Nola. I want to remind you what I said last week. This is who he is. All right?
It is.
He will give you the head-scratching outing like he had against the Toronto Blue Jays on May 8th, where he goes 5 2/3, 9 hits. Was not shying away from contact. 9 hits for the Blue Jays, allows 4 earned runs. It balloons his ERA up to 3.67. And then his next outing, 9 innings, complete game shutout, only allows 4 hits, strikes out 8, drops that ERA 5 points to 3.10, and dazzles in a big win. Again, the previous night, you had to use a lot of your bullpen. The night before that, you had to use a lot of your bullpen. He goes out there, gives you 9 shutout innings. You give your bullpen a rest, and he is just spectacular. This is who he is. This is why we can't freak out when it's a bad outing. And look, I'm going to celebrate the good and also expect that there's going to probably be another head-scratcher outing in a couple of weeks.
I guarantee it.
But this is who he is. He can show you that he could still pitch like the Aaron Nola you saw a couple years ago when he was a runner-up for the Cy Young. And, oh, by the way, the guy that pitches in October and is spectacular.
And what was it? I talked the last game about being in traffic and hearing Larry Anderson talk about the fact is why he will not attack at the strike zone at the knees. Yesterday afternoon, he did all day long. He was that was a fantastic performance yesterday. And at one point, I guess it was 5 innings, 55 pitches, or 6 innings, 55 pitches.
He was spectacular.
It was stupid. And it was so efficient.
No walks, by the way, yesterday. 8 strikeouts, no walks.
And he looked so – and one of the things that he was ripped about last year, that he has cleaned up, he's no the pitch clock has nothing.
No, it's not bothering
has
him
no
at all.
effect on him anymore. Whether that's Caleb Cotham or supposedly helped him with it.
I think Caleb Cotham was a big deal. There's the story last year that he changed his approach,
and
you saw that's when he started pitching better last season, and it carried into the playoffs. And unfortunately, his last outing wasn't great in the playoffs. But then so far this year, he's been spectacular. Another great outing for Aaron Nola yesterday.
Nola is an ace. Yes,
I heard it.
I love it. 30 wins.
30 wins, man. The first team to 30 wins in Major League Baseball this year. They're 30-13. And so I'm going to ask this question. Exact same one as the Eagles. I asked you, are you buying it that the Eagles are the 5th best team in the NFL according to the ESPN.com way too early power rankings? Are you buying this start? The Phillies that are 30-13.
Make sure you specifically say what buying it means.
This is why is this team real? And this is why I'm asking. Like, is this team going to be a juggernaut? Connor used the word juggernaut. What was it, last week or 2 weeks ago?
I think last week.
You called them a juggernaut. Earlier this week, I said that they need to be held to the same standard as the Dodgers and the Braves. The reason why I asked the question, are you buying it, whether or not this team is actually as dominant as they are right now? Every time we get excited about the Phillies, every time we talk about the Phillies, and you can sense that we are excited because what's not to be excited about? They're 30-13. They're the best team in baseball. Every time we get excited, John, somebody on the text line, somebody on the phone line, somebody on email, somebody on social media, pump the brakes. Every single time. Look at the schedule. It's been an easy schedule. It's only May. Every time we get excited about the Phillies, we're told to pump our brakes.
I don't believe in pumping the brakes as far as that's concerned because I think we are getting to the point where I always always say Memorial Day because Memorial Day you're around a third through the schedule.
Right.
And you can really tell. I think by that time, what you can usually tell is who are the great teams, who are the really bad teams. And then there's a bunch of teams in the middle that at the third way through the season, the Phillies proved it the last 2 years. They were one of those teams that wasn't one of the really good teams, wasn't one of the really bad teams, but they're there in the middle. Some teams are going to take off and be there. If buying in means that the Phillies, that you're buying into them being a exceptional World Series, not only World Series, I think because of the Braves and Dodgers, you have to say World Series contender.
Yeah.
Not World Series favorite.
No, not favorite.
World Series. If you say World Series contender, man, I'll put my feet up on that one. I absolutely believe that.
So I want to know from the people who are the pump the brakes crowd, because again, it's every single time. Every single time. What are you waiting for? Like, what is it that you need to see? Is it literally just the schedule? Like, oh, I need to see them beat a tougher opponent.
Well, you got the world champs coming in next.
Yeah, that you got that coming up, and I understand that the opening series you dropped 2 of 3 against the Braves,
and you were smoked.
Okay, but that was a long time ago.
It was.
The bats have heated up. The pitching has never died down. Right, we're still waiting for. All right, when is the pitching going to slow down a little bit? You just got a complete game shutout out of Aaron Nola yesterday. Right, I got Ranger Suarez on the bump, and I fully expect him to go out there and have a great outing. I mean, that's where I'm at this point through 43 games this season. So I want to know at 610-632-0975, are you buying the Phillies as a legitimate World Series contender, or do you think this start has been a little inflated because of some of the schedule stuff that's been going their way? And if you have not bought in yet, if you're not buying this team yet, what are you waiting for?
Well, I think they're waiting to see Braves Dodgers.
Is that all it is?
I think they want to see Braves Dodgers.
Okay.
Because you honestly got trounced by the Braves in the first series. You were lucky to get 1 win of the 3.
Yes.
You got and that bullpen got ravaged by them. So you want to get that another shot at the Braves. You want to see how they compete against the Dodgers. You want to see how they carry this on. But if you don't see what's sustainable, great pitching is portable. Great. If you're getting great starting pitching like this, that doesn't mean the starting pitching is going to be crap against the best teams. It is great starting pitching can be carried over. I think that's the thing that has me most confident. It's not the batting order. It's the fact that this starting pitching, I've never seen anything like it.
No,
as a Phillies fan.
Dude, I gave you the numbers. It's better than 11.
And that didn't make sense to me at all.
Until you saw the numbers.
And then you see it and you say, okay, it's wild.
Wheeler's numbers were through 7 starts or 8 starts it was, better than Roy Halladay's. The 7 starts of Aaron Nola, better than Cliff Lee's.
And they made
the 7 starts of Ranger Suarez, better than Roy Oswalt's. And the 6 starts of Spencer Turnbull's were better than Cole Hamels.
Well, we're lucky we put him in the bullpen. Yeah, I had to get him to the bullpen then, which is really good.
Seems like they've been okay either way.
Yeah,
Connor,
really. Connor, 1 out of 3.
What is you do the Locked On Phillies podcast, so you're talking to Phillies fans all the time. What is keeping Phillies fans, the portion of Phillies fans that have not bought in yet or have not bought this team as a legitimate World Series contender, what is keeping them from doing it?
I think part of it's the schedule. I also think part of it is the inverse of the mindset the past 2 years. Because the past 2 years, there's been a section of the Phillies fan base that, well, maybe not 22, but definitely last year after seeing that wild card run, they're like, the Braves could win 140 games. We're going to beat them in the postseason. And I think now being on the other side of that equation, you're like, the Phillies could win 140 games. Still, the postseason is different, so we know how this can be undone. So I think that's part of it.
Now, here's one thing for those Phillies fans: the Braves aren't going away.
No, they're matching you.
The Braves have had the last 2 seasons, the last month, to not have their foot on the gas pedal. The Phillies might have to the entire season, which might actually be a good thing going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
I get resting a guy here and there, but what I'm saying is, how many times have you heard, they got to flip the switch back on?
Remember 22, though, the Braves won the division the second to the last day.
That's what I'm saying.
The second to the last day, because it was Braves-Mets, remember?
That's right, yeah.
Remember, they were going,
That's a good point.
They both won like 100, and then the Mets crapped out and the Braves crapped out.
Right. Look, all I'm saying is the people that are talking about the schedule, just enjoy it now. And then when that time comes, fine. We'll figure out what this team's all about. But right now, enjoy yourself, man. It's 30-13. The Phillies, the first team to 30 wins in Major League Baseball. All right, we continue the show. Would love to get your reaction on our topics today, 610-632-0975. And today's a major day. It is NFL schedule release day. Coming up next, we'll tell you what we know so far, because there have been not necessarily leaks. It's been more so the networks that have told us what the first games will be. So we'll tell you what those are. And throughout the show, if there's a leak, we'll tell you about it. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic.
schedule release day. A big day. It's a holiday. It's an absolute holiday. So we got the schedule release tonight. Can't wait to see what the schedule, how it plays out for the Eagles. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, John kind of touched on it in the first segment. Without even knowing the schedule itself, right, the order of the schedule, when the Eagles play which team, John already knows that this will be a difficult schedule. He'll explain why coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, and I don't think you're wrong in what you say.
It's the professor. I stole his formula.
Right. But the question is whether or not the Eagles will be good enough to overcome that difficult schedule, which is something we didn't see last year during the gauntlet. We saw it early on. Remember, beating the Chiefs and Bills were good wins.
Very nice win.
But then it was the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Seahawks. And Miami. That was a good win, too.
That was a really nice win.
They were both undefeated. Or no, the Eagles had the one loss from Miami. They both had only one loss at that point. It was a very good win. So there were times when the Eagles beat very good teams. It's just the gauntlet happened and the issues in the locker room happened. Right, it was a mess, and they fell apart. So that's why I asked the question today. It's 610-632-0975, and we'll get to the phone soon and the text soon. Are you buying that the Eagles are the fifth best team in the NFL? The ESPN.com power rankings rank the Eagles fifth already. Despite everything that happened last year, they have them fifth, just behind the Lions, Ravens, 49ers, and Chiefs.
It's bold.
It is bold. What does it say to you that they have them fifth? Are you buying it? And also, are you buying the Phillies start to the season? Because there are a lot of people, every time we talk about the Phillies in an exciting and happy and we're pumped up way, somebody tells us to slow our roll and pump the brakes. Would love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. But I want to let you know.
Yes.
This is what we know so far about the NFL schedule. So there will be leaks coming out today, but this is what we know so far. This is specifically from the network, so it's not like anybody leaked this. Right. The networks have the right to announce the first game that will be broadcasted on their network. Look, we knew about Eagles-Packers for months now, right? So the Thursday night opener will be Ravens at Chiefs. The Friday night opener will be Packers at Eagles. A great first two nights in the NFL. Then we get to college football Saturday, and then Sunday – we know America's game of the week will be Cowboys at the Browns, and it's already being talked about at nauseum that it's Tom Brady's first game as a color analyst on Fox.
It's Cowboys. That's enough to be at nauseum.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Cowboys-Browns, week 1, Sunday, 4:25 on Fox. The first Monday night football game, you broke this to me yesterday, Jets at 49ers. So the return of Aaron Rodgers and the return of the San Francisco 49ers on the national stage. And then we know the first week 2 matchup already. The first Thursday night Amazon game, as long as Al Michaels is Al Michaels still doing it this year?
No, he retired.
Or did he retire? All right.
I think he was forced into retirement.
Who's doing Thursday night for him? Who's the play-by-play guy for Amazon? I honestly don't know.
I do not know who that is.
Well,
but I thought that they forced him into retirement.
Probably needed to, with all due respect, to a legend.
To a legend.
It was just the last 2 years were pretty bad on Thursday night.
I don't think he was enjoying it.
No, I don't think so.
And it was
either.
coming across.
Yeah, it was very much so. Remember that game when the Jags came from behind against the Chargers in the playoffs?
That was a playoff. That was a wild card game.
Game-winning field goal. He goes, the kick is up and it's good.
He wasn't even.
Come on, bro.
Yeah, he wasn't
Bills taking on the Dolphins. So Bills-Dolphins will be the week 2 matchup on Amazon. So they are going top-heavy to start the season, which I know you have a little bit of a problem with.
I don't dig it. Like if I was making out the schedule, I would make sure that the first week having some big matchups is fine. But what I would try to find is I wouldn't have Chiefs-Ravens, the AFC title game rematch, week 1.
See, I'm okay with that.
See, I would have what's the most attractive game of the Chiefs, like the biggest name I could put in that's not that one. I wouldn't put the Chiefs' 2 biggest games are being played in September.
Week 1 and week 2. Oh, yeah, we know also week 2 is Bengals and Chiefs.
Bengals coming in. Bengals coming in. I wouldn't like that schedule. If I'm making the schedule, they ever make me the schedules are, that will not happen. That will not
So what,
be happening.
Would you do the college football approach where you're playing the school of the blind for the first 4 weeks of the season?
No, but what I do is I'd find, like, I don't know the Chiefs' schedule off the top of my head. I can look for it here and just say, okay, who are the Chiefs playing on their schedule? Find an attractive game for the Chiefs that isn't the biggest game on
So,
their
like last year, you were cool with Chiefs-Lions. It was the up-and-coming Detroit Lions against the Kansas City Chiefs.
By the way, Al Michaels is back, Kevin Cooney.
Oh, he is
alerting
back.
us.
Okay,
He is
so
back.
there you go.
It's the last year of his contract coming up.
I'm looking forward
So it is the last year of his contract. I don't know. I would try to find a game that wasn't as marquee as that one.
Give me top heavy, man, because you know what they do with the back end all the time. There's going to be a lot of divisional matchups, right, that will probably mean something. Not every division's like the NFC East where half of the division is trash.
Yeah, I get you.
So you got the division games at the back end. It's a
But 20,
John,
look,
regardless of this formula, you know it's working, man.
Oh, it's working. But if I look at it, I'm saying, okay, here we go. If I tried to find another game, there is the San Francisco 49ers. Oh no, they have to have a home game. So if I'm looking at their schedule and a home game, I could see the Chargers.
Okay.
Jim Harbaugh, his first game being a team that they've got at Arrowhead.
Two West Coast teams.
That could potentially work. They really don't have an attractive home schedule past Houston. Houston's one. I could see Houston
that would have been
going
interesting.
in. Bring Houston in. I just wouldn't play the AFC Championship game rematch.
Give me the steak first, man.
Yep.
I eat the sides last. Yeah, if I get a steak,
by the way, do you really?
Yeah, do green beans are the last thing to go.
That's weird.
Okay, you're a psychopath. Like, you really? Are you serious?
Give me the steak first, man. That's what I went to the restaurant for. Damn it.
Now, do you eat as you go along? Do you have a little of the side, a little of the steak?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
but
but it's mainly steak first.
But at the end,
those veggies are last, baby.
I'm backing out of this conversation.
All right, Connor, he is. Are we agreeing he's a freak show?
Well, when it comes to food, you've already known that.
I eat all my fries before I eat my burger. I won't even touch the sandwich before I eat the chips and fries.
I go fries last.
Are we on the same side?
Connor, you're a smart guy.
I go
I'm never
fries
doing
last.
it again.
The fries will always be the last thing.
No, I think it's just you got to eat. It has to be scorching hot.
All right, so that's why I'm cool with the schedule. Then give me the top stuff
you
first,
want top
baby.
heavy.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to the phone 610-632-0975. Are you buying the Eagles as the fifth best team in the NFL? It's the way too early ESPN.com power rankings. The Eagles are already fifth despite everything that happened last season. Let's go to Michael in Brooklawn. Michael, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, guys. How are you? Great show.
Thanks Michael.
As an Eagles fan, I don't buy it yet just because you have to play on the field. And I agree that they're a top 5 talented team, but as far as overall team, we don't know until they're on the field. Because think about it. In May of last year, what were the Houston Texans in the power rankings in May?
They were probably in the teens,
20.
if not lower, yeah.
Oh, no, they were one of the 2 worst teams the year before.
Yeah.
So maybe even in the 30s, and they went on to win a playoff game. So I don't really put much stock into, the power rankings.
Right, and look, it's fun. It's fun conversation in May, right? We have 4 months until the season kicks off. But I'll ask you this, Michael: who would you have in front of the Eagles? Like, if you're saying the fifth is too high, you're not buying it. You want to see them play first. Like, just heart of heart, like what you're feeling, gut feeling. Who would you have ahead of the Eagles right now?
I mean, it's not necessarily putting teams ahead of them. I just think sometimes power rankings can be somewhat biased or, just overanalyzed a little bit.
I would say more so. Oh, these are national power rankings, so there's no bias to it.
It's every writer from every ESPN.
Thanks for the call, Michael.
From every city in the NFL.
Right.
The guy who covers their team, they all vote.
So there's no bias.
And then they usually will have some of their other insiders will vote.
Right.
Some of their other, like Orlovsky and them, will vote. So it's not like there's a bias because you have too many voters that are there. And I don't think anybody's. And I got to tell you, I think the Eagles are usually sweethearts of these people.
Yeah, I think
they
so.
love them.
And I don't think
for good reason, by the way.
I don't think anyone's disagreeing that the Carolina Panthers are 32nd. I don't think anybody's disagreeing that the Broncos are 31st, that the Patriots are 30th.
Until they prove differently.
Right, exactly. Right now, and again, everything is based off of paper, right? What reacting to the draft is based off of paper.
Sure it is.
Reacting to free agent signings like Saquon Barkley is based off of paper. Talking about and I say jokingly, the way too early power rankings because we're 4 months away to start.
When do you believe power rankings?
When the season's happening. But power rankings.
But you don't believe power rankings 2 weeks in, do you?
No.
See, that's what I mean. It's like
because I saw the Eagles win 10 games. I saw them win 10 in the first 11.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, I think the Eagles was last year was just a total anomaly, like out of left field.
Yeah,
and we might not ever see it again. But to me, I look at it as I need to still see 6 weeks of the NFL.
Right.
Like I can't do it. I can't do power rankings week 1, week 2.
Well, what
at
about
that
May?
point.
What
Yeah,
about May 15th?
Exactly. No, I could do it on Memorial Day, though. Memorial Day, I'm going to text you.
Totally different.
I'm going to text you. You're going to wake up to a text, and I'm going to be like, man, those standings look great.
Good. I can't wait for it. All right, so we would love to hear from you. 610-632-0975, phone line or text line. What does it say to you that ESPN, no bias, this is the national media
bias.
people, all right? What does it tell you that they have the Eagles 5th in their preseason power rankings, and are you buying it? I want you to answer the first question, too. What does it tell you? That means, to me, they think highly of this football team. Maybe more highly than our first caller, Michael, if he's not buying it.
Do you believe if they gave everyone in sports radio in this town a vote, and every writer that covers the team and every media member that covers the team a vote, do you think the Eagles would be 5th?
Maybe not 5th, but definitely top 10.
I think they'd be top 10. I think they'd be lower than 5, though.
That's interesting.
Because I do believe I think we are more critical of our own baby than other people are.
I think that's true.
I really do. I think we are far more critical of the Eagles than outsiders. Outsiders, like.
But then again, I mentioned the teams behind them. I don't know if the Bengals jump them just yet. I think they could. The Bengals are going to be. I think they're going to be a good football team this year, as long as they're healthy. But I mean, I think the jury's still out about the Bills. I don't really believe in the Dolphins.
I think the Bills take a step back.
And then there's
not a huge step back.
And then the team that's right behind the Eagles are the Houston Texans, which, all right, they're right behind.
Too early for them, in my mind. Right. I don't think the Eagles are behind.
So maybe
Detroit.
they are 5th.
Yep.
Maybe they are. We'll discuss that. Also, coming up next, reaction here on the text line, 610-632-0975. But I'm going to tell you, because I don't want the Phillies to get lost here. Because I also asked the question, are you buying the Phillies start to the season? Because every time we talk about the Phillies in exciting light, somebody tries to pour water on us and say, the schedule, don't get too excited, pump the brakes. I'm going to tell you one of the biggest reasons why the Phillies have been so successful this season outside of the pitching staff, because that's number one. I'm going to tell you the big difference from last year. I'll tell you that next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Ricky Bottalico.
Your Philadelphia Phillies are going out there and in their work.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Want to give a quick shout-out to our YouTube audience watching the show live, as you guys do pretty much every single day. The YouTube family, we appreciate you. If you haven't checked us out on YouTube yet and you want to look at two handsome people, you'll be able to see John and Connor, right?
Well, I've seen.
Thought they were going to see me twice.
Let's just say I've seen other radio shows.
We do pretty well for ourselves.
I think we do pretty well. I think we're
but speaking of YouTube, I want to let you guys know tonight we have a very special show. We have the NFL schedule show with our guys Bill Colarulo and Andrew DeCecco.
It's going to be fun tonight.
So we can't wait to check that out tonight. So if you're looking for a place to watch the NFL schedule release show and listen to some of the analysis, you'll have
an Eagles slant.
Yeah, absolute Eagles. It's going to be all Eagles related, right?
Yes.
So, like, I know if you're watching ESPN, you might see the Eagles schedule, but they might be talking about the Cowboys because obviously
they love talking about the Cowboys.
Same with the NFL Network, all that kind of stuff. So if you watch our YouTube feed tonight with Andrew DeCecco and Bill Colarulo, it'll be strictly about the Eagles, and that's good. That's something, hometown schedule release show.
I like that, a little home cooking.
So check that out on our YouTube feed. Obviously, just search 97.5 The Fanatic when you go on YouTube. All right, so one of the biggest reasons why the Phillies have had so much success this season. I did some number crunching. I dusted off Kincade's calculator. I stole it from you when you weren't paying attention.
I must have not looked.
The Phillies obviously are 30-13. A lot has to do with the starting pitching. But I want to give you one of the other biggest reasons why. So they won last night again without hitting a home run, right?
Okay.
They are not relying on the long ball right now. They are still up there toward the top of the league. I think they're maybe top 6 in Major League Baseball in home runs this season. But it doesn't feel like they're only winning because of the long ball.
It does not.
One of the things that they are doing well in 2 areas is scoring with runners in scoring position, knocking in guys with runners in scoring position, which is something I feel like happened so many times last year where we were pissed off that there was a guy left on second base, there's a guy left on third base, and I have the numbers to back it up. So last year, runners in scoring position with less than 2 outs. Their team batting average was .259, which was 13th in baseball. And it got better as the season went on.
Okay.
Remember, the first half of the season, they were one of the worst teams with runners in scoring position. They finished 2023 hitting .259, which was 13th in Major League Baseball with runners in scoring position, less than 2 outs. This year, they're hitting .280. That's 6th best in Major League Baseball.
So it's a big, in around 15 points can take you from... the batting average.
And 21. So this is 21 points. They go up from 259 to 280. Again, still early, but part of the reason why they're 30-13, whereas last year we were scratching our head in the month of April saying, why are they struggling so much?
Well, I was scratching my head yesterday, watching them with runners in scoring position.
Okay,
that was a bit, but it was the anomaly.
It was the anomaly.
It was the day that hasn't been the norm.
Now with 2 outs, last year they were 9th. They were top 10, but they were hitting .249 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. This year, .263, 4th best in Major League Baseball.
Okay, that's sweet. That is really sweet.
So, yeah, they're still hitting the long ball. We know that the pitching staff has been really big. But, Connor, driving in runs, not just relying on home runs, hitting singles, hitting doubles, getting runs in with 2 outs has been a big reason why they've been so successful this year.
Yeah, in my years of watching baseball, scoring runs is normally how you win the games.
Yes.
And when you can do that, like that's the thing, relying on the long ball, I think it's an over-talked about thing with the Phillies teams of the past couple of years because I think they could do more than that. But this team is so well-rounded at the plate.
Absolutely.
Why do you think it was too talked about the last few years? Because I think the Phillies' plate approach the last 2 years was mediocre at best, and their situational hitting was terrible.
I mean, I can look at the NLCS.
I mean, situational hitting.
The Diamondbacks drove in runs in many different ways.
Phillies have never been. This year they are, though.
I can't say mediocre when they were in the World Series in the NLCS.
No, as far as that skill set, they do. You could be great at this, great at that, and very mediocre at something else. And their situational hitting was terrible. And they're aware.
This is why I say it was too talked about. I don't think it was terrible. I think it was maybe below average. But
like their base running.
People treat.
Like their decisions on the base running. This year, by the way, that's improved a lot more.
And that's why you're 30-13.
I was shocked to see Schwarber yesterday get picked off second because that is very unlike him.
Right, absolutely.
That's very.
I don't know where he's going.
I didn't know either. I didn't understand. That's like napping.
Look, he lost some weight. He feels better running the bases, so he feels like he can take an extra step off of second base. Yeah, exactly.
Go get it.
Unbelievable.
And Bryson Stott, by the way, 410?
He's been on fire.
In his last, 15
When I did the Around the Bases segment yesterday that you hear every day at 8:40, I pointed out his numbers over the last week. He's been spectacular. He's climbed his batting average up 50 points. He's been great. And then he walks 3 times yesterday.
See, that's great.
Just an incredible day for Bryson Stott. Incredible stretch for the Phillies. Are you buying in at 610-632-0975? Would love to hear from you because every time we talk about the Phillies in an exciting way, somebody tries to pour water on us. So, Connor, I know we have a text about the Phillies and we have text on the Eagles. Let's go with the Phillies one first. What are they saying on the text line?
All right, we have a check-in here. First-time texter, no name on this one. But they say buying in on the Phillies because the best part of this season so far, outside of phenomenal pitching, has been role players stepping up while they have been missing stars.
Yeah. I mean, that's been a big story for the Phillies the last couple seasons. I mean, the reason why the daycare became such a talked-about thing was because Bryce Harper was hurt at times, or Nick Castellanos was struggling, or JT Realmuto was struggling. But Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott, all those guys were stepping up big. We're stepping up big.
Brandon Marsh.
And now you're seeing that this season, with not because the stars are struggling. It's more so because the stars are injured. They're missing games. Bryce Harper out yesterday with the migraine. And you had a nice game at Edmundo Sosa 2 nights ago, right? I don't think Bryson Stott should be considered a role player anymore.
But Christian Pache gave you 5 hits in 2 games down in Miami.
Right.
That was
you
huge.
needed it. Cody Clemens comes up and hits 2 home runs in his first 3 games up at the major league level.
He made a big play the other night, that leap and grab. He made it at first base.
And I think on Phillies pregame yesterday, they talked about the fact that Clemens is potentially going to get tossed go the outfield. Play a game in the outfield, maybe give Castellanos a day.
And also see what he's got.
See what he's got because they're liking what they're seeing out of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great.
Dude, you were starting Nick Maton and Matt Vierling at points in 2022. The place this team has gone to with their
tears that were shed when those guys were
Leave
traded.
me alone.
And you were part of it. You were part of the problem.
People.
Oh, man, good locker room guys.
If I said,
they stink.
Great vibes, guys.
Don't you dare.
May 15th, 2022, where were they? Today, we're 30-13.
Great question.
17-18.
So right around 500.
2023, 20-21.
Wow.
So you're sitting there at 30-13.
It's a bit of an improvement.
And guess what?
What we asked for.
If you want to say pump the brakes, I don't want you at a party. You're just you're not enjoying something great.
But if you are saying pump the brakes, we would like to know why. What is it that's keeping you from getting excited about this team? If it's the schedule, look, give them credit. They're beating the teams. They weren't beating them last year. All right? That's one of our biggest gripes with the Phillies over the last couple of years, playing down to their opponents. They're not doing that right now. You can call in or text in 610-632-0975. I know we have some Eagles texts about today's topic. They are ranked 5th in ESPN.com's power rankings. Are you buying it? Now, John told us that the schedule is a little bit more difficult than we might think. He'll explain why next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies 1st to 30. I'm Connor Thomas.
which means Adam Schefter will be joining us 1 hour from now. So tune in at 8 o'clock when Shefty joins us. And then 13 hours from now, we'll start finding out who the Eagles will be playing. Well, when the Eagles will be playing specific opponents. We already know the opponents. And the Eagles' schedule will be released.
I'm going to tell you, we'll know 5 or 6 games by dinner.
Absolutely, because with all the leaks.
The Giants are the worst leakers. So if you have anybody if you have any sites you want to follow today,
get those guys a diaper.
The Giants are bad leakers.
Okay.
Or Groundworks. That would help them with the next trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're bad leakers. So whoever does social media for the Giants, because they've had the schedule for a couple days.
Yes.
The social media teams are putting together the video and everything for fancy videos. Somebody talks up there. So we'll get a couple of those games. Maybe we get one of our Commodes games. We find out about that one,
Yeah,
too.
probably.
Because Dan Quinn will probably talk.
Well, in a few minutes, John's going to tell us why this schedule will be difficult without even knowing the order of the schedule. And, again, this is all on the premise of paper and health and all that kind of stuff. But John's going to tell us that the schedule is going to be pretty difficult. Now, the question is, so here's what we're talking about today at 610-632-0975. I know we have texts about this conversation, so we'll get to that in a second, Connor. I want to know, are you buying the Eagles as a top 5 team in the NFL going into the 2024-25 season? The reason why I even asked that question, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. ESPN.com put out their preseason power rankings, the way too early preseason power rankings 4 months ahead from kickoff. The Philadelphia Eagles came in at number 5. We had a caller earlier, Michael from Brooklyn, said, I don't like power rankings because they're biased. This is the national media. This is not a bunch of Philadelphia people putting together the power rankings. This is the people that cover the NFL for ESPN.com. They had the Eagles 5th behind the Detroit Lions, Baltimore Ravens, San Francisco 49ers, and Kansas City Chiefs. So I have a 2-part question to that. One, what does it tell you that the Eagles are 5th? To me, it tells me that the people that cover the league expect this team to bounce back, not to have those issues that we saw last year, which was all locker room related, not just talent-wise. They believe that they improved this team. The little blurb that they do for all of them, what most improved area, they have a secondary, which clearly was an issue for the Eagles last season. So they have the Eagles 5th. So what does it tell you? To me, it tells me that there is still a ton of respect about this team and that they got better, at least talent-wise and also coaching-wise with the OC and DC. The second part to the question is, are you buying it? Are you buying that the Eagles are 5th in the NFL right now? And I'll tell you on Twitter, Luke Hoke is not buying it. Eagles fan, 4 for 4. He tweets and he says, when a team gives up and forgets to tackle on defense, that tells me there are bigger issues. I'm still trying to figure out what happened during the collapse. And I think we all are, and that's a fair question to be asked. That's a fair
assessment.
But it seems like he's not buying it that the Eagles are 5th when he straight up says the team gave up.
Well,
and I don't know if I can deny that.
No, I can't say it because I don't know that they gave up. I mean, gave up means you quit.
Right.
Gave up means we're done. We just want to quit. I don't believe that. I believe they played like crap.
They definitely did.
I mean, I'm not going to say that they quit.
Okay.
I don't know that they did.
Okay.
So, but I think their performance could lead someone to believe it.
Right, and I can't deny it. Like I can't shut anybody down for saying that. If Luke believes that way, I can't say that you're wrong for thinking that. Now, what do we have on the text line about this conversation today, Connor? You can call in or text in, same number, 610-632-0975.
Yeah, so Tim in South Jersey checks in and says, without wearing the green-colored glasses, I actually think the Eagles should be ranked higher. Each season is a different story. In May, you can only go off of paper, and on paper, I only see Kansas City and Baltimore ranked higher. The team has made the most improvements. The team that has made the most improvements is Philadelphia. That includes the coaching staff.
Now, this is Tim, you said?
Yes.
If Tim could follow up, why should they be higher than San Francisco? I'm asking.
Like, what happened since
I
that
want to know,
game?
because I do know that the 49ers lost some players this offseason. And I do know that there's still a bias against Brock Purdy, especially here in Philadelphia. And look, I'm part of it. I think Brock Purdy takes a step back. I think Jalen Hurts plays more like 2022 this upcoming season. But why would he not have the 49ers ahead of the Eagles, who once again got to an NFC championship game, right? Once again got to a Super Bowl and beat the doors off the Eagles in the second, third, and fourth quarter. So I
Yeah,
would like
it's a
Tim.
fair
I would like
question.
Tim to follow up with that.
I'll let you know if
Yeah, I
does.
don't buy that.
Like, if you want to say they should be higher than the Lions, I'll hear you out.
I think that they will be a better team than the Lions this year.
But the 49ers one, that's hard for me.
No, you can't say it.
And I hate the San Francisco
They
49ers.
They skunked you.
But it's hard for me to say that the Eagles should be higher than the 49ers. That means if he says that only, who did he say only higher? Kansas City and
Ravens
Baltimore?
and Baltimore.
That means he has the Eagles third.
Yeah.
Third.
That's crazy.
Here's what I'll say.
Okay.
So let's go back 2 years. Let's just not do this last year. The Eagles smoked the 49ers. I know injuries, but in the NFC Championship game. And then the Niners were significantly better than them the year after. So I don't think it's crazy to expect that.
Yeah, but we're basing it off of
domination.
paper right now.
And they physically dominated you.
Now, there's
That's
still
the
there's still the question about what's going on with that offense. There's still concerns about the wide receiver position, but they do have the best offensive player in the world in Christian McCaffrey on that team.
I don't know. If we're going on paper, last year the Eagles were comparable to the 49ers on paper.
Okay, and right now they're only 3 spots back.
Right.
It's not like the Eagles are 10th and the 49ers are 2nd. It's the Eagles are 5th and the Niners are 2nd. I just don't see how you can say right now confidently, and he's even saying without the green-colored glasses on. I don't know how you could say that comfortably. So I'd love to hear Tim follow up. Do we have any other texts about this conversation?
Yes, we do. No name on this one, but they say, I'm buying the Eagles at number 5, but personally I'm a little surprised national media has them that high. For me, though, I would rather have the national media disrespect them.
Of course, because no one likes us. We don't
Then
care.
we can buy underdog masks.
Yeah, but you know what? If they were disrespected, that same texter would complain about them being disrespected. You know that's how it would go.
Absolutely.
Come on.
All right, so you told me, and you told me why you believe that the schedule might be more difficult than we're thinking about right now. And I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I would like you to explain to the audience, you are going with a method from a great, great man, by the way. Rest in peace, John Clayton, one of the kinder souls in this industry.
Spectacular
man. Sometimes there's not a lot of kind people in this industry. John Clayton was. But he has had a method to tell the strength of schedule before the schedule is even released, just by finding out the opponent.
And then he would research the previous year.
Okay.
So he would come up and say, okay, based on the previous year, how did this work out? Think of it this way. You're just breaking into you look at the first thing you do, look at the quarterbacks that your team's going to face in the year. And how he would say is he based it on how many quarterbacks are you going to face that have ever led a team in a full season to the playoffs.
Okay.
So that was his first criteria to begin his evaluation. The Eagles have 14 of their 17 games against quarterbacks who have ever in a full season led their team to a playoff berth. By the way, the average, and the last time that John wrote on this for years ago, the average is like 10.
Wow. So 14 out of 17.
82%. So that's bad. Then the next thing was, how many of your road games are against those quarterbacks? How many of those games that you're facing playoff quarterbacks that led a team to the playoffs do you play on the road? 7 of the 8 road games.
Wow.
The Eagles do. 88% of their slate.
Do you have the average for that one too?
Yes. Well, I have the average, but it's from years ago before John passed. But this was always his criteria, is that you don't want to be in the top quadrant. You don't want your numbers to fall 76 to 100%.
Right.
So you don't want to be in the number of quarterbacks you're facing, 76 to 100%. You don't want to be in the 76 to 100% your road games or 76 to 100% of your home games. Eagles' home games are at 75%. I mean, they fall right at the top of the second quadrant. Yeah. It is a murderer's row. I tried to go and look at when John used to write his column about this and would talk about this. There were very few times that a team's schedule had them facing 80% plus quarterbacks who have ever led their team to a playoff berth.
Well, there's part of a reason for that mathematically. In 2020, they expanded the postseason. So you have more playoff teams.
Oh, no, but this is before, and this was before John. I mean, this is the end of John's run. So, no, this was the 16.
I'm saying.
He said the 14 of 17, I think Connor said. And I'll also say this. There's been in recent years more quarterback movement than we're used to, right?
Yes, there has been.
Quarterback trades, quarterback free agencies. I mean, we complain about the NBA. There seems to be nobody that wants to stay with one team for an entire career. It's been like that with quarterbacks now a lot in the NFL. Now, there is also context to this. So we don't have the schedule yet, but we do have the opponents.
We do know the opponents.
And we'll find out the schedule tonight. So we know that the Eagles are opening up the season against the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love led his team to a playoff game last year.
On a neutral site game for him.
They will be playing the Atlanta Falcons this year. Kirk Cousins has been in the playoffs, but are you fearful of Kirk Cousins? I know he can win games in the regular season, but has he done anything for you to strike fear where you go...
That he can beat you on one game? Sure. That he can beat you on one game?
I'm not afraid.
Because the only game I'm worried about is the game you played.
Okay, I'm not afraid of Kirk Cousins.
Not being afraid of him is a difference.
They play the Carolina Panthers. Obviously, that's not one of them.
That's one of the ones that you don't in the two Washington games.
Right, in the two Washington games.
Carolina and the two Washington games are the only ones.
Right. But for context, so Jordan Love, week one, jury's still out. Is Jordan Love going to be the second half Jordan Love, or is he going to be the first half Jordan Love, right? Kirk Cousins, the Atlanta Falcons. Deshaun Watson has been in the playoffs. Deshaun Watson is not the quarterback that he was in Houston.
Does he scare you?
I'm not going to make any jokes.
No, but I mean, you're not in the massage room.
No,
there's no reason to be scared.
I mean, look, he
should scare you. That team,
dude, he has done nothing the last 2 years to scare
Joe Flacco was better than him.
Yeah, dude, last year Joe Flacco was better than Deshaun Watson.
We will revisit this one.
Yeah, we will. Twice against Dak Prescott. We'll see. Obviously, that's probably a split.
But Dak has tended to own.
I got you. One of the playoff quarterbacks is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has not played to the level of expectations.
No, but he had a 3-score lead on you. A 2-score lead. Well, his defense was terrible.
Yeah, but Trevor Lawrence doesn't scare me.
Trevor Lawrence doesn't scare me.
Does Joe Burrow?
I'm getting to it. There are going to be some quarterbacks, but I'm
Baker Mayfield dominated you in the playoffs.
But I'm not afraid of Baker Mayfield. I'm not afraid of dude. That's last season. This year's a new year.
Does Matt Stafford scare you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, but what I'm trying to get at, John, 14 mathematically that is correct, and that's a difficult schedule. That is difficult, but there's also context to it. Deshaun Watson hasn't been in the playoffs as the quarterback. Obviously, his team was in the playoffs last year. But as the quarterback since he was with Houston. Kirk Cousins doesn't freak me out. Trevor Lawrence doesn't freak me out. Daniel Jones is on there twice.
Yes.
He does not freak me out. The quarterbacks that fit this mold, that do concern me, Joe Burrow, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, and I do think highly of Jordan Love. So that's 5. Derek Carr doesn't scare me.
And Mayfield, after you does not bother you at all.
No, I think the team was an absolute mess last year.
So you just put that out as that.
Yes.
It is a this
so
is
5 out of those 14 quarterbacks scare me.
I'm just telling you what the numbers will tell you. The numbers will tell you by his formula.
Yeah.
This is a terrible schedule.
Okay.
That you don't have there's not many gimme games. You might not be afraid of Kirk Cousins. But when I see Kirk Cousins play the Eagles, by the way, I've seen Kirk Cousins beat the Eagles.
No, I know.
Many times in
but
regular.
I'm saying fear.
I think 2 or 3 times in the regular season.
I don't go, oh my God, they got to play Kirk Cousins.
No, but I'm saying is I've seen him beat the Eagles.
I got
and more importantly,
I'm not saying the Eagles are going 17-0.
I got you. But the thing is, he is a guy, there should be a healthy respect for a guy. I've seen him beat, and more importantly, I've seen him in games where the Eagles go, it's 1-score games in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Coming down to the end where you don't know if you're going to win or lose.
Okay.
It's not.
I've seen Jalen Hurts beat Kirk Cousins twice now.
There's not many gimmies. There's not many gimmies on this schedule.
And that's
the bottom line.
And I'm not saying the schedule's easy, but
there's not many breathers on this schedule.
I'm just saying in terms of the context of that, like Daniel Jones is a playoff quarterback.
Okay. Do you consider the Giant games breathers?
Yes.
Okay.
They should be. I'll say
they should be. They should be. Yes.
Any look, as a football guy, I'm saying, at least me, as a football guy.
You're a football guy.
Somebody's got to hit the quota on this show.
Yeah, go for it.
Divisional games are always tough.
Absolutely. Well, I think the Washington games are weird.
Yeah, they're every year.
Like Washington games.
Sam
are
Howell
weird.
should not throw for 7,000 yards against you.
And the only team he did against twice was the Eagles.
Right, exactly. It's amazing.
And Dak, even if you beat Dak, he owns you.
Right.
Dak Prescott owns them.
And by the way, another team that I didn't even mention, Russell Wilson's the quarterback.
Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh. Do you think about that? You wanted him here.
I did, but I'm glad he's not. Just because I wanted him.
Okay, that makes no sense to me.
Why does that not make sense?
How does that not make sense?
What? You just think, you look at it almost like it's a gimme, Russell Wilson. playing Russell Wilson. You wanted him here.
Okay, that doesn't mean I'm.
You ever like someone you don't like anymore?
Wait a minute, no.
3 years ago, yes, I wanted him, and then I found out that he went to Denver and became Looney Tune.
Oh, he did. He's Looney Tune.
Forgot how to play football. And cared more about his Subway commercials.
Do you think he's going to be bad? Do you think he's going to be terrible in Pittsburgh?
I don't know, and I will find out. But right now, again, everything's off on paper.
Oh, I got you. But what would you guess? You like? Is it?
I think he will be better than what it was. Kenny Pickett and who was the other quote? Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
I think he'll be better than both of them.
Maybe.
I think he will be distinctly better than both.
And that's
both of those.
That's
guys.
a very low bar.
Yeah, but people were excited that Kenny Pickett's here. I mean, I heard people saying they're excited that Kenny Pickett's the backup.
Was anybody really excited?
Yes, I heard people go, "Man, that's a good pickup by Howie." I'm like, "Oh man, really?"
I
Kenny
thought it was
Pickett?
a smart pickup in terms of how much he costs you, and you might be able to trade him for a first-round pick if he ever needs to play. But
I'm just saying look, you get it is a formula that the professor would use every year, and the number of quarterbacks you faced, he found that was a much better distinct.
Yes, and I'm not denying the math. I'm just trying to add context to it that a lot of these quarterbacks that were once in the playoffs don't strike fear to me.
But you don't believe that was the case in the past, because you'd have to discount it then in the past.
No,
so when he's researching it before, going, well, that quarterback stunk, or that quarterback got to the playoffs once, or whatever. I mean, it is a.
Like, didn't Brandon Whedon get to the playoffs once? I'm trying to think of these trash quarterbacks that have made the playoffs before.
Well, is that you don't want to be in the first quadrant. That is a terrible place to have your schedule. He would do it year after year.
Yeah,
do this study.
My assertion is that's becoming very quickly outdated.
Okay.
Because of playoff expansion and because of quarterback value. Because quarterback value in the past 5 years has gone to another level. And that means guys are willing to overpay. That means there's a lot more volatility with the position with that amount of money. It means quarterbacks are moving a lot more often for those paydays.
Right.
All due respect to John Clayton,
who knew more football than I will ever know.
No,
100%.
Is the you want gimmies on your schedule?
Yes.
There is value in the gimmies. The Eagles got to the Super Bowl in 2022, and people were like, well, they had an easy schedule. Yeah, because there were many games on that schedule that were sort of gimmies. They don't have a lot of gimmies.
I'm not denying the science to it. I'm not denying the numbers to it.
You're just hoping that a lot of these guys are not.
Well, it's not that I hope. It's just I haven't seen anything out of Russell Wilson in the last 2 years to strike fear.
How many of these games?
Baker Mayfield, you even said it as well. The day he got that contract, it was like, whoa,
that's a lot. They had to pay.
That's a lot for Baker Mayfield.
I felt good for him because I tell you, I think Baker Mayfield is one of those guys who's been dissed. That is not a bad quarterback.
I agree.
If you're saying right now, how many times do you think, just gut instinct, how many times do you think the Eagles will be a 4.5-point favorite? Like 4.5 is a good. That's a good. Like, how about we just make it a 4? Make it 4.
How many 17 games?
Like,
Packers. I was going to say 7 or 8.
You think the Packers they will be?
No, I don't think they already are. I think the line's already out.
Either Dallas game?
Probably not.
They won't be at Bengals. They won't be at the Ravens.
Okay.
Well, they might be at New Orleans.
I'll give you Falcons, Panthers, Jags, both Giants, both Commanders. Even though
Panthers isn't on.
Even though we know the science behind it, and we know that the Eagles don't really fare well against the Commanders, or it's usually tough games. I just gave you 6 right off the bat.
Well, the Commanders aren't part of this. The Commanders' 2 games aren't part of this, and the Carolina game isn't part of this. I'm not looking at many of those games where I think the Eagles will be a 4-point favorite or more.
Okay.
Like, I think it's going to be the experts are going to look at it and go, that game's a toss-up.
And I've said this a million times. I don't really read lines.
You don't?
It might be a flaw of mine. I don't really read lines. I look at 2 teams. I go, I like that team better in this matchup.
You don't think they tell you something, though?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. All right? You can climb in at 610-632-0975. Call in or text in 610-632-0975. Are you buying the Eagles as a top 5 team? Because ESPN.com, the way too early power rankings, has them 5th despite everything that happened last year. Are you buying it? 610-632-0975. Speaking of numbers, coming up next, Mark Schlereth. You're going to hear him talk about sacks. I'm talking about the sacks on the field of play in football and how it's a quarterback stat. And Jeff McClain yesterday joined us and talked about how Jalen Hurts needs to get better at this. We'll tell you what next. Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies take 2.
Eagles, as today is NFL schedule release day. Adam Schefter will be joining us at 8 o'clock. So 30 minutes from now, we'll be joined by Shefty. He, of course, is going to be all over the coverage tonight on ESPN as they do the schedule release. But make sure you check out our own special broadcast that will start 12 hours from now. 7:30 YouTube feed with Bill Calarulo and Andrew DeCecco. They'll be talking about the NFL schedule release from an Eagles side of things. That's exciting.
Do we get who's the first local guy to have a good league?
Jeff McClain.
Today. Jeff McClain?
Jeff McClain.
He's
Always.
done it 3 of the last 4 years.
And I
By the
love
way,
all the guys.
4.
Yeah.
Jeff.
I love all the
Dylan
guys.
McKinnon.
Dylan?
I think he's got to post it.
Is that right? You think Dylan McKinnon's got it first?
Dude, yeah, he's the spider, man. He knows.
By the way, do not fall for the NFL schedule leaks Twitter feed.
Oh, yeah, those are
horrible.
I don't buy any of that kind of stuff.
They're horrible. Please don't fall for it and don't start reposting stuff.
All right, so speaking of Jeff McClain, he joined us yesterday, and I always love our conversations with Jeff. And the first half of the interview was about Jalen Hurts and stuff that he has to work on going into this upcoming season. A lot of it is because of leadership. There were some questionable moments where his body language on the sideline during tough times was complained about.
Embiid-esque.
It was Embiid-esque, and it was complained about clearly by teammates if Jeff McClain was hearing some things. But one of the things that Jeff himself brought up was something that Hurts needs to do at the line of scrimmage better, and that's studying the defense and figuring out what the defense is going to do. Now, I don't fully blame Hurts for that. I also think coaching needs to be involved there. Everybody knew in the world that the Giants were going to bring pressure, and they had nothing schemed up against it. Everybody knew in the world that Todd Bowles was going to bring a lot of pressure in that playoff game, especially in the first time they played each other in the playoffs. Okay. And then, of course, this time, like everybody knew except for the Eagles coaching staff that these defensive coordinators that are known for bringing pressure were going to bring pressure. I'll give you a game in which they won.
You think Shane Steichen didn't?
That playoff game was tough.
You think he didn't know?
That was year one.
I think the quarterback was a year one quarterback, and I'm giving him a pass for it. I think it was a year one. But I'm not putting that on Shane Steichen. I'm putting that on I'm putting that on my rookie starter.
Fine, then let's focus on last year.
Exactly.
You'll put it on Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni.
And Jalen.
And Jalen Hurts. But I will say I don't think it was fully his fault to not be ready for a blitz when there was nowhere for him to go with the football when the blitz was coming, because they wanted to still do this RPO stuff. And if they're just bringing pressure, you don't have that much time to read the defense. Sorry, it still pisses me off. But anyways, Jeff McClain talked about how Jalen Hurts needs to get better at reading the defense at the line of scrimmage.
That was one of the issues throughout the season, and that they were giving Jalen a little more freedom at the line. And I think there were plays in which it was productive, although everyone pointed to that Washington game when they threw the touchdown. But, they need to kind of bleed the clock there. And Washington almost won the game. It was a great play, but, you got to know situationally what you should do there. In the Seattle game, that situation was not – there was time on the clock there. They didn't really need to try that home run type of throw, and it cost them, and that's something that Jalen's going to have to kind of work on in terms of when is the right time to do that and when is the wrong time to do that. We'll see. I asked Kellen Moore about that last week, about how much freedom, with the line, between giving the quarterback that freedom in the line and then him taking it, going over the line and going too much with that. And he's like, well, he kind of answered it. There's a balance there, et cetera. But some, play callers, offensive coordinators don't want to give quarterbacks, depending upon who it is, that much freedom. I don't think Jalen's getting the playbook at the line of scrimmage like a few handful of quarterbacks have over the last few decades. They'll give them 1 or 2 plays sort of thing, and you can check the one versus the other. And they should do that, right? You need to be able to kind of change the plays when you go up there at the line. You see a defense that's totally different than what you were expecting. But the question is, when is it right and when is it wrong to make those calls and being ahead of the defense when deciding to do so?
It seems like this is going to be Kellen Moore's offense, plain and simple.
And Jalen did not get a lot of, under Shane Steichen, a lot of options to freelance.
Right. Which he did have last year.
He freelanced because he had a substitute teacher.
Right. Sometimes it worked out. Sometimes, as we saw against the Seattle Seahawks, it doesn't work out. And it looks like maybe in a Kellen Moore offense, there's not as much ability to check out of plays at the line of scrimmage. And if they do, it's a very probably short list of plays, which might be a good thing. And that goes back to coaching, too. That's why last season I can't fully blame Jalen Hurts. I don't think he was coached up well enough in a lot of the situations. So we'll see what Kellen Moore can do. Now, you told me something yesterday off the air that I wanted to save for today, and it was the sack numbers, the total number of sacks that Jalen Hurts has taken over the last 2 seasons. And I have said this a lot, John. back when I was hosting Middays with Ray Dunn, that the offensive line is very talented. I think Jalen Hurts sometimes makes the offensive line better.
Interesting.
I think it's a great marriage. I don't think the offensive line is overrated or anything. I just think there were a lot of times where Jalen Hurts escaped sacks.
Wait a minute, though. It has to be one or the other, right? The offensive line of the Eagles is considered, if not number one, while Jalen Hurts has been here, that he's played behind the number one offensive line or one of the top 2 or 3.
Right.
Right? We all agree on that. So, I mean, right there, that's the premise we got to start with.
Yeah, but I don't think sometimes it is schemed into lines where they allow a guy to come free. Remember Micah Parsons 2 years ago, not necessarily last season, but 2 years ago.
Sure.
They left him unblocked. That was a strategic play by the Eagles. Last year they tried doing it, and it didn't work.
It did not work.
But you can do that stuff with Jalen Hurts because of his mobility. So I think it's a great marriage. I don't think it's because the line is number one, and I don't think it's because Jalen Hurts is number one. I think it's the two of them are a great marriage, which is part of the reason why you think it's such a successful offense. But you told me his sack numbers and where he ranks among other quarterbacks in the NFL.
You gotta hear, though, is that do you believe sacks are a quarterback stat, or do you believe sacks are an offensive line stat?
Well, Mark Schlereth will tell you that it's a quarterback stat.
And
let me tell you the way the game has changed. Sacks are no longer an offensive line statistic. Sacks are a quarterback statistic. Sacks are 100% a QB statistic. In you want to play today's game that you play with me all the time on the internet, okay? Today's game, sacks are a quarterback-driven statistic. And I know all you're going to get up and go, well, the offensive line sucks. No, your quarterback sucks and your play caller sucks. The whole game is the quick game. Whole game is getting the ball out. Fastest quarterback with the ball out of his hands this year, Tua. You know who was the second least sacked quarterback in football last year? Tua. Ball out of your hands. When the ball is out of your hands quickly, that's today's game. So if you're going to get the ball out that quickly, guess what? It becomes incumbent upon the quarterback to get the ball out of his hands.
Now, I will say this. In defense to Jalen Hurts, there weren't many plays where they allowed him to get the ball out quickly.
Okay, so are we talking last year or even Shane Steichen's year?
Last season. Now, I know you have numbers over the last 2 years, but I'm going to defend him for last season. It was A.J. Brown down the sideline. It was Devontae Smith, sometimes over the middle of the field, very rarely. The only times they got the ball out quick was the slant route to A.J. Brown and the freaking bubble screen that we all hated.
And they never had any quick hits to Dallas Goedert.
Never.
Okay. What if I tell you last year it was better than the year before?
That's crazy. That's crazy.
He took 36 sacks last year. He took 38 in the Super Bowl season.
And he missed 2 games.
And just to put it in perspective, Justin Herbert, 7 less sacks over the same time, relative same number of snaps. Lamar Jackson.
Same number of snaps because he was hurt last year.
Relative number. Lamar Jackson, 11 less. Trevor Lawrence, 12 less. Dak Prescott, 15 less.
Yeah.
Derek Carr, 18 less. And Derek Carr's a statue.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jalen is also 27th among 40 quarterbacks in the NFL over the last 2 years in average time to throw till the ball to leave his hands. He's taking longer to get rid of it. He runs into sacks. And
that was a problem last year.
And is a decision of running into sacks where he is moving towards the play. He was listed as last year of the 36 sacks that at least double digits of them he ran into.
Yeah, I think last year he was part of the problem. I think the offensive line also struggled in the back half of the season.
And he was better last year than this Super Bowl year. He's been sacked 74 times.
Yeah, I mean that's
the past
a lot,
2 years,
and that needs to be fixed. And I do think a Kellen Moore offense,
helps
similar to a Shane Steichen, even though he did get sacked more 2 years ago, getting the ball out quick, I think is going to be a big part of it. And last year they didn't have that in their offense. Everything was slow. Everything about the offense last season seemed slow or stressful just to get a first down. Like, they weren't clicking on driving down the field and getting first downs at times. It seemed painful to get first downs.
Remember how anxious we were on, watching some of those drives?
Yeah.
You could be just it was stressful. Kellen Moore's offense, want to feel good about it? It's going to get Dak Prescott. Look, anything Dak can do, Jalen can do, right?
I
think
agree.
Dak's a better thrower.
Yeah.
But
But I think Jalen Hurts is an overall better quarterback.
The ball's getting out much faster under Dak Prescott, under when he was with Kellen Moore. Also, too, the quick hit throws, the quick hit patterns. He's great with it.
Yeah.
He's great. He has schemed 2 of the last 3 seasons. He has schemed his wide receivers and tight ends open, considered open windows, more than any offense coordinator in the
And that
NFL.
should continue this year with all the talent that they have with Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and a whole lot more. Real quick.
It better.
We have our international schedule.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, Eagles-Packers, week 1 in Brazil. October 6th, Jets taking on the Vikings in London. October 13th, Jags-Bears in London. October 20th, Patriots-Jags in London. And I think you're going to not gain any fans in Germany because in Munich, Germany, on November 10th, Giants-Panthers. The Germans will hate football.
My God, they may
What are you
may
doing?
never watch again.
They're trying to expand, and they give you Giants-Panthers?
You know what, though? We're the Cowboys on these road trips. Thanks, Jeffrey Lurie. We're going to freaking Brazil, and the Cowboys, again, are sitting at home. Sitting at home.
Who cares?
Never heard someone complain so much about a vacation to
Yeah,
Brazil.
I don't really care about that. I'm saying the NFL is dumb for allowing Giants-Panthers to try to expand their likability in Germany. They're going Panthers.
Who cares
Panthers,
about
Giants.
Germany?
My God.
My gosh.
All right, coming up next, I promise this is not going to be the LeBron James Radio Network.
Please.
But sometimes I can't help myself. I saw another crazy response for somebody that is anti-LeBron affiliate. I'm going to read you that tweet next. And it's just asinine. But it's what we keep on doing. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Talking sports with you all day.
Fanatic. Coming up in 13 minutes, we'll be joined by the great Adam Schefter on this beautiful Wednesday. Well, rainy Wednesday. Rainy Wednesday, but every day's beautiful, Johnny.
You're wearing your boots like you're going out to actually do manual labor today.
Well, because it was raining. I don't want to come in here with Asics and then my toes are wet all day.
We walk maybe what? 20 yards.
Okay, do you not get wet in 20 yards?
Nah, you're a slow walker, bro.
You're a slow walker then.
What do you guys hover?
No, you walk right into the building and you don't miss and you miss puddles.
Even if there's no puddles, a couple of raindrops, they go through those running shoes have nothing.
Bro, you got some
protective.
Bobo Asics.
You're
going through.
You're wearing bad Bobo.
I got my Timbs on, man. Come on.
You don't need boots to go through like a drizzle.
All right, well, you know what? I am completely dry and completely comfortable today.
Good news for you though.
What do we got?
And Connor, rain's supposed to stop by 5.
Oh, cool.
It is zero. Like right now on the Rain Aware, which is the app, you buy once. $4.99. Buy it once. It's in every single umpire's room in baseball. It's this app, but they have it on one of the computers.
I'm never gonna buy it.
Zero. You don't want to know. Right at your spot, it tells you where it is. It's saying right now.
I could call you because you're the person in the world.
Yeah, but I won't be in the same spot as you.
And that owns this. No, I'll have you drive on out.
I have to be at your house to be able to. $4.99. You cheap.
I'm not paying for. I can look out at the sky and say is it raining or not.
Yeah, but you can't tell what it's going to be at 5 o'clock. This is saying 0%.
That's 5 o'clock means
Or I could go to NBC 10 and look at the weather radar.
Yeah, but they're not going to tell you whether it's going to rain at 5 o'clock. Like
You're such a weather guy.
You guys are
love
so
weather.
Are you? You guys are
I
weird.
just like hurricanes, bro.
You love hurricanes.
All right, so I promise this is not going to be LeBron Radio Network.
Okay.
But it's going to be pretty close because the greatest player in the NBA alive ever is available, and the Sixers might be able to get him. Well, if he opts out. We'll see. So yesterday we talked a lot about LeBron James.
Okay.
And Brendan Gunn, who does a fantastic job tweeting out a lot of our quotes from the show.
And some of our drops.
Yes. Tweeted out me saying, bringing in LeBron James gives you a better chance, and that's all I can freaking ask for. I feel like my chances are pretty good with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and freaking LeBron James. To which I got a response from Pots and Pans on Twitter.
Okay.
Totally an awful option. So not even like I'll think about it. Awful option. It would set us back for years to come. To which my response is, they haven't won anything. Like, I understand if you sign a guy and it doesn't work out and you put all this money into it. Oh, by the way, you're not signing him to a 5-year deal. You're signing him to a 2-year deal. It's not setting you back at all. But what if the Sixers won for you to be worried about being set back for? They haven't been set forward.
Well, I think he's probably wondering, are you using like a high draft pick to do a clown show thing and draft a guy who doesn't even belong in the G League?
I will tell you right now that the 16th overall pick, whether it's Bronny James or whoever the Sixers draft, might not be that big of an impact player. It's not often Giannis Antetokounmpo comes out of the draft at 16. More often than not.
Then Bronny James? Then Bronny?
I'm hoping to win a championship in 2 years. That's what I care about, not 5 years.
I think that's what a lot of people are worried about.
Okay.
The idea is you like trade. You got to draft Bronny to get. Look, I think Bronny's going to go to Ohio State. I think he's going to take himself out of this clown show because I don't think this is all Dad's doing. This is Dad's orchestration. I don't think he wants to be a clown show. I don't think the young man.
Come on to Philly, Dad.
I don't think the young man wants to be clowned like this, and he's going to be clowned if he lets his daddy get him a job.
Well, he was asked about it yesterday. So I want to thank Keith Pompey for tweeting out the quote. So yesterday was it was a combine for the NFL
next
draft
week,
prospects. Yeah.
NBA.
NBA.
You said NFL.
Did I say NFL?
Yeah.
NBA combine for the NBA draft. And Bronny James participated yesterday, and he was asked about that specific thing, the idea that teams might draft him to try to get LeBron. He said this, quote, honestly, I feel like this is a serious business. I don't feel like there would be a thought of, I'm just drafting this kid just because I'm going to get his dad. I don't think a GM would really allow that. So, yeah, I never really thought about that. I think I've put in the work, and I'd get drafted because of the person, not only the player, but the person. So he thinks GMs would not do that, draft him to try to get his dad. I will say this, a team like the Sixers, it would actually make sense because the 16th overall pick is not going to do anything for them when it comes to winning with Joel Embiid. The 16th overall pick acquiring LeBron James would, though.
No, I don't know. If you're saying the 16th pick in the NBA draft doesn't mean anything, that's bad. That's bad for your organization.
That guy will play 8 minutes a game in the regular season and might not play in the playoffs.
I got to tell you, there are guys contributing on the Knicks who were drafted beyond that.
Okay.
That helped just send you home.
Are they rookies?
No, but I'm saying as far as
are they second-year players?
This guy wants to build something. He wants to actually build, which is what Joel Embiid has asked for. He's asked for continuity. He's asked for a long-term build. He's asked for something that there's stability here. He's not asking for quick fixes.
And as I keep on saying, I don't know if you can actually do that with him.
I don't know that you
I don't know if you get dude. It's great that when he said that.
I got you.
He pointed out the Nuggets. They've been together for 8 years. Yeah, 8 years ago was 2016. The Golden State Warriors were together for a long time. Yeah, Steph Curry was like 15 years old when he got drafted. Joel Embiid's 30, going on 31. I don't think there can be a 5-year plan with 31-year-old often injured Joel Embiid. Okay, I don't think there can be.
And let's just look at, because I have the list of 16th overall picks in the NBA draft.
Okay.
So if these guys are impact. Last year was Kincade George for the Jazz.
Okay.
Does anyone know anything about Kincade George?
No.
Jazz are terrible, so it's going to be young.
But, not an impact. A.J. Griffin for the Hawks 2 years before that.
Why are you putting it as impact? You don't need – you're not going to – if you use that pick to get –
You need impact players in the NBA.
But if you use that pick to get Bronny James, you're getting zero impact.
You're drafting LeBron.
I'm getting LeBron James. I'm getting more than an impact.
You can get LeBron James as a free agent. You don't have to give up the 16th pick to get him.
If LeBron says, whoever drafts my son, I'll go there.
You know he's never saying that.
If he says it, I'm doing it. And I'm not thinking twice about it. Because I'm not drafting first overall. All right? I joke around saying if I had the first overall pick, I would draft Bron. No, that would set back your franchise.
And you wouldn't do that.
I'm drafting 16th overall with a team that still has a championship window. You raise your eyebrows.
No,
they still have a championship window, and that 16th overall pick is not going to do anything for them.
Talking about Sixers and championship windows, again, we haven't seen them out of the second round.
That doesn't mean that doesn't mean the window's not open.
I guess what? I need Window Nation to get them some better windows then, because they can't even open up a window to a conference final in a quarter of a century.
Windows open, baby. All right, coming your way next, Adam Schefter will be joining the show. He joins us every single Wednesday at 8 o'clock, and then it'll be followed by today's headlines with Connor Thomas. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic.
Kincade and Salciunas. I know the weather's not beautiful, but I say beautiful Wednesday morning because Wednesday's at 8 o'clock. We get to go to the man from ESPN on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business get you ready for what's next. And he's brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. That, of course, the great Adam Schefter joins us. Shefty, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew and John. How are we doing today on this schedule release day?
We are fired up because of it. Schedule release day. We've been following you along on social media. You just put out the international schedule not long ago. We obviously knew the Packers and Eagles already. But, Shefty, I know the NFL's a beast, but the poor Germans. Giants, Panthers?
Well, you know, the funny thing is you just never know how good a matchup is or isn't. You may think that it's not overly enticing, but all of a sudden we get to that game and maybe it is. And if it's not, then you just go drink a lot of Heineken and eat a lot of pretzels and have a great time anyway. So it's fine. It's all good.
I was using the old, and I know a man who you had a ton of respect for, and he did for you, John Clayton. The professor used to have his breakdown where he would always look at a schedule and say, how many quarterbacks do you face that have ever led a team to the playoffs? And then how many of them do you face on the road? And we went through that in honor of John Clayton this morning, his old statistical measure. Eagles have 14 games against quarterbacks who in a full season have led their team to the playoffs. Do you read anything into that as far as a way he was looking for a way to determine the real schedule difficulty? What do you think about that?
Well, my first question is, who do you pencil in Washington? Because there are 17.
Well, they don't know. They were two of the games where you didn't. And the one game other was Carolina. Every other game, the quarterback you face, the starting quarterback the Eagles face, is a guy who has led their team in a full season to the playoffs.
And you're worried about Daniel Jones for 2 games?
Thank you, Shefty.
No, are you worried about going on the road and facing Burrow and Jackson and Dak Prescott, who has pretty much owned you, Baker Mayfield, who skunked you in the playoffs? I mean, there's some. You know, it's easy to point to the one, point to the others.
Yeah, but listen, you're not going to have easy. None of these games are expected to be easy. It is the schedule, and you just have to see how it lays out. But as much as I respect the professor, he's right. There are just so many things with the schedule that you can't predict. Like, I had this argument with the producer at ESPN. I've done the schedule release show for any number of years, and there have been so many times where I see analysts break down wins and losses, and that to me is the most low-hanging fruit. Like,
it is.
You have no idea.
It's lazy.
You have no idea how.
Tune in tomorrow at 6 o'clock, Shefty.
It's the laziest thing that we could potentially do.
You know what it's like? Honestly, to a certain extent, with less work, it's like mock drafts. It doesn't happen that way. There's just too many other factors that influence it, that make it and render it moot. And so it's fun to go through, and it never gets old, like looking at it. But it's never right because there's so much to a season, layers to a season, that once they're peeled back and off, like all of a sudden a team that you thought was going to be a pushover comes out inspired, or a team that you thought was going to be tough is missing its star quarterback, or there are so many different things that happen that influence it. You just don't know. Now, the general rule of playing quarterbacks who have had playoff seasons, yeah, there's something to that, absolutely. It's not everything, but it's certainly something. The way the schedule lays out is another thing, but you just don't know if you're drawing a team at the right or wrong time. You just don't know that, and you won't until the season rolls around. But, I mean, look, I don't need a schedule to look at the Eagles season and tell you that they should finish 12-5. They just should. That should be right around where they are. 11-6, 12-5. That should be where they are. If they're south of there, it's a disappointing season. But they're a good team in a vulnerable division, in a vulnerable conference. There's no reason they shouldn't rip off 11, 12 wins. So when you're counting them out tomorrow, get me to 11 or 12. That should be where they're at when all is said and done.
That's a deal, Shefty. We'll make that happen. Now,
we're not calling him back because he doesn't want to play.
Now, I'm not going to ask your opinion on NFL power rankings in the month of May, but I do want to ask you a question because ESPN.com did put together their preseason power rankings, and the Eagles come in at number 5. which I'm not surprised that they're very high up on the list. I expected them to be a top 10 team. But because of everything that transpired last season, I am a little shocked that the people at ESPN, the people that you work with, have them at 5th. So what does that tell you, the opinion that people have about this Eagles team, that they still think that highly of them despite everything that happened last year?
Well, first of all, power rankings mean as much to me as wins and losses on a schedule when it comes out, and mock drafts. So I put power rankings in my power rankings of things probably third.
Okay.
Wins and losses on the schedule on a mock draft. But you know what power rankings are? How much respect you have for a team at this time of the year going into the year. How much do you respect that team? And right now, I haven't seen those power rankings. I'm guessing that the teams that they respect more and expect more of would be Kansas City, Baltimore, San Francisco, maybe Detroit.
That's the top 4.
Ding, ding. Not in that exact order. It was Kansas City, San Francisco, Baltimore, Detroit. But you're spot on, Shefty.
Right. Okay, so those are the teams that people are expecting to be very good. Those are the teams that people respect right now for whatever that's worth. It's going to shift every week. But there aren't many teams you look at going into the season and say, boy, I like this team's chances going into the year better than Philadelphia's. Like, Philadelphia is stacked. It's loaded. The Eagles have done a great job building back up the coaching staff, building back up the roster, positioning themselves as much as they can for the challenges that are in front of them, for the schedule that will be released, for the order of the games, to see how they're going to be played out. But they're in a position right now where now it'll be up to the coaches and players to do what they need to do to get done, everything that they need to get done to have the type of successful season that they aspire to have.
When you believe analysts or people are looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, do you think they're looking more at the coordinators for their potential success, the new coordinators, or that the head coach is going to be, a real big fixture in whatever improvement they make?
Oh, I think, I don't think that it's any one thing over the others, John. I think it's a combination of things that you're looking at. I think you take into play the coordinators, but that's not the factor that you fully account for. So, to me, it's just a part of the full equation.
We're speaking to Adam Schefter on the Comcast Business Hotline. Shefty, we've been talking a lot about Jalen Hurts, obviously. He's the franchise quarterback of this team. And one of the things that we're trying to figure out is what he needs to improve on for this upcoming season. Last year, it was pocket presence. I remember I actually spoke with Jeremy Fowler about that. He was told from somebody inside NovaCare that was what they were really focusing on during camp, was Jalen Hurts, his ability to pass in the pocket. What are league circles talking about something that he needs to improve on going into this upcoming season? And I'll ask you, is it necessarily on the field of play, or could leadership be a part of that conversation as well?
With him, it's a case where 2 years ago, we're talking about him being one of the faces of the league, one of the guys that has completely turned around this franchise. And then a year later, everybody's trying to figure out what went wrong. So what is the truth with Jalen Hurts? Is he a superstar worthy of the contract that they gave him? Or is he a question mark the way that some people had last year? And right now, the only person who's going to be able to answer that is Jalen Hurts with his play this year. If Jalen Hurts comes out and plays great again, there are no worries. All set. All systems go. But if he comes out and is up and down and inconsistent, doesn't play well, which I don't expect, but if he has one of those kinds of seasons again, now we're going to start to be in a conversation of who's playing quarterback long term, right? I mean, you can't have 2 years in a row like the type he had last year and think that everything's going to be okay and that we're set at that position. I don't think that would happen.
Is there any? I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, because you're asking all these questions about the coaching staff being under fire, improving, and I think the quarterback has a lot to prove this year. He was so good 2 years ago. He was dominant, And then all of a sudden, last year, which for reasons that none of us have figured out, he wasn't.
Is there any reason to think the Giants or the Commanders make a dangerous jump in this division?
Yeah, well, by the way, John, if we had this conversation at this time last year about the Houston Texans, is there any reason? Is there any reason to think that the Texans are going to make a jump? No.
Well, one thing you used to point out all the time, Adam, is that you usually have that number exactly. Like it's around 40% of the playoff field turns over every year, right? I mean, something close to that?
Correct. And by the way, again, I don't know what Jaden Daniels is going to be, but he's all hell-bent on outdoing C.J. Stroud, as every young rookie quarterback should be, by the way. Much easier said than done. We haven't seen really any rookie quarterbacks have that kind of season. But what if Jaden Daniels is what he says? What if he is a version of C.J. Stroud? What if he is?
Well, I know Dan will have the defense playing a little better.
Well, but it comes back to that quarterback, just like we're talking about with Jalen and Philly, right? If Jaden Daniels is a young superstar, a young ascending quarterback, and all of a sudden Washington is dangerous. He's going to be really good for years to come. But just think what the thoughts were on the Eagles 2 years ago when Jalen Hurts morphed into one of the best players in the league. And nobody would want to play them. Their opponents were distraught over the idea that here's this great young quarterback who's now going to be in the division for the next decade. And then last year he fell off. So, when you say, could you see any of these teams coming out of somewhere to unseat them? I think the Giants definitely could be better, but Daniel Jones has to be healthy, and I think we know what the ceiling is there. And they could be a tough team if he plays well and stays on the field, but I don't know that if the Eagles are playing their best football that they're going to be good enough to beat the Giants. But the Commanders, we don't know what we're getting from Jaden Daniels. Is he going to be a young and experienced rookie quarterback, or is he going to be a C.J. Stroud version-like quarterback? I don't know. He doesn't know. They don't know.
Shefty,
I do know that there were enough coaches and personnel people that I spoke to leading into the draft, and the phrase that I heard from more than one of them was that Jaden Daniels was Lamar Jackson 2.0.
Whoa.
Wow, that's big.
Now, again, maybe he will be and maybe he won't be. I don't know. But if some of these smart minds are right and he is Lamar Jackson 2.0, that's not good for the Eagles.
No, it's not.
Unless Jalen Hurts returns to form.
Now, back to Hurts. Last thing before we let you go. In your opinion, among the top-paid quarterbacks in the NFL, and knowing that Howie Roseman is not necessarily somebody that sits on his hands long, does Jalen Hurts have the most to prove this season amongst the other top-paid quarterbacks in the NFL?
Well, I think that I'd have to go through that list, right? Because there are some top-paid guys that are still trying to get paid. Matthew Stafford has wanted a new contract, and Jordan Love and Tua and Trevor Lawrence are in line for a new contract. Do we include them? Like, quarterbacks are always on the firing line. And if you don't step up, then it could lead to radical decisions with the team, whether it's in Philadelphia or New York with the Giants or any other team. What if Kirk Cousins this year doesn't step up? Is he getting benched? Are they moving on from his money because Michael Penix is there? Like, we could come up with a storyline like that, Andrew, for almost every quarterback. There are probably 7 or 8 quarterbacks off the top of my head that are probably locked in and immune to any sort of conversation like that. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. I might put Brock Purdy in there, believe it or not.
Sure.
Jared Goff, who just got paid Nothing's happened. That's 6 right there.
Right.
I just named to you.
Well, it's going to be an interesting season, and it's going to be a fascinating night tonight. NFL schedule release, and I'll text you what my win-loss record tomorrow morning, okay? Does that sound good?
I'll be waiting on that one.
Yeah, I'm sure you will be. Schefter, you're the man.
And after you get done with that, please send me your power rankings and your mock draft.
Oh, and then the Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles.
Yeah, we got you covered.
Who's on your Mount Rushmore?
Schefter, thanks so much, man. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
There he is, Adam Schefter from ESPN, brought to us by Landis+Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. I got in Connor's ear, and I had him tell B. Gunn. I want him to grab that audio of Jalen Hurts from a couple questions ago. And it goes back to exactly what I talked about yesterday, holding him to a higher standard.
Absolutely.
And I thought I was the crazy one for saying it, apparently. We'll revisit that conversation around 8:30, but it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What up, Connor?
What's good?
Normally 8:05. I'm sorry.
That's fine. It's not
Shefty
your
pushes
fault.
you.
It's that Adam Schefter guy. Still thinks he's better than me just because he's the #1 NFL insider. Anyway, we'll move on. We haven't really talked about this. We've talked Sixers. We've talked LeBron. But I want to know what your level of interest in the current NBA postseason is. So we've got 4 series ongoing in the semis, but Boston's up 3-1 on Cleveland. The Knicks are up 3-2 on the Pacers. The Thunder and Mavs tied at 2, and the Nuggets just took a 3-2 lead over the Timberwolves. Do you guys have like a rooting interest? Have you been zoned in on this?
No rooting interest, but I'm locked in. I love.
You're locked in on the East?
East and West. I love basketball. So playoff basketball to me is extremely exciting. The only series that I don't really pay much attention to is the Celtics-Cavs. Even though the Celtics lost Game 2, I never thought that series was in jeopardy.
Nah.
They're 1 win away from moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. But Pacers-Knicks, I knew was going to be a tight one. It's now 3-2. Nuggets-T-Wolves, at first I thought, after 2 games, I thought, wow, T-Wolves are running away with this. Nikola Jokic goes, hold on, I'm the 3-time MVP. I'm going to bring us back. And Thunder-Mavs is split at 2 apiece.
I'll watch the West. The East is a bore.
Knicks-Pacers, a 3-2 series is a bore?
Game 4 sucked. Game 5 sucked. Terrible. Unwatchable, both games.
Okay.
Yeah, first three were good, though.
Toward the fourth quarter.
It's not, but I watched the teams and go, they ain't winning a title, neither one of them. So I'm just like, I'll watch the teams that I think I'm more intrigued.
You talk about the Knicks as if they're the greatest team ever.
No,
the
I'm
way
excited.
They're built.
Hey, they're just better than the Sixers. This is what we got to worry about.
If you don't think they're going to win a title, then why do you think they're built so well?
They're not winning a title because they're. Hey, look, I'm looking at a team. You got to hop in the East. You got to be better than them. You're not better than them.
John, do you have
gotta
a
be better. I like
we're going to do that for too long.
I like watching Minnesota.
Okay.
Because I don't know much about them. I like watching Oklahoma City because I don't know much about them. So I enjoyed those series more, and I watch greatness in Denver and things like that.
Can I tell you a personal want? A team that I personally want to lose?
Yeah.
Can you guess?
The Thunder.
Why is that?
Because you want to hear about the process and all that.
Because they did it right.
Where your brain
That's
works.
what you're saying.
They have not won anything.
He wants you to not have your talking point anymore.
Until they win, it doesn't mean that theirs went better than ours.
Really?
Until they win.
I got you. Do you think there's an NBA general manager that would take the Sixers?
No, they would probably take the Thunder. They would take the Thunder over the
100
Sixers.
times out of 100.
Yeah, because they're younger and all that kind of stuff. But just to say that the Sixers process didn't work and the Thunder's has, they have not won anything yet.
Okay.
I personally want them to lose, and I want them to lose to the Dallas Mavericks.
Speaking about something personally and taking it personally, Tom Brady talked about his roast that he did, and he now regrets it because apparently his kids' feelings are hurt by it. Take a listen.
Did you learn anything new about yourself?
Of the roast?
Of the roast.
You know, like I said, I loved when the jokes were about me. I thought they were so fun. I didn't like the way that it affected my kids. So it's the hardest part about like the bittersweet aspect of when you do something that you think is one way and then all of a sudden you realize I wouldn't do that again because of the way that it affected actually the people that I care about the most in the world.
He took $25 million and allowed comedians to trash his children's mother. That is pathetic.
My question for Tom Brady is, what did you expect?
Yeah, right.
He didn't do his research, but you knew
was coming.
The mother of your children was going to get trashed, and I was like, oh, I didn't even wonder how it would affect them. Selfish, Selfish.
Well, he
25 million selfish.
He might not have known, dude.
What do you mean might not have known?
You have
Come on.
John, you have to understand. Tom Brady does not exist on Earth. Like, he does not exist in any world that we can comprehend.
He knows what a roast
Here's the
is.
deal, Connor. It has been reported, and some of the comedians have talked about it, that there was one thing that was not allowed to be touched, and it was the Robert Kraft situation. And
what's his name?
Jeff Ross did, and remember, Brady went up to him.
No more.
I was like, stop.
That's the one thing that has been reported that was off the table.
He let the mother of his children be trashed.
I'm not saying he shouldn't have known. I'm saying I don't think it's crazy that Tom Brady doesn't know.
He may not have realized.
I wonder what comedians are going to joke about.
Right.
Tom Brady. I wonder what people are going to make fun of me about.
Bro, he's not normal.
That's
He
true.
doesn't
Look,
exist
I get
as a
it, but
normal person.
I don't know what he expected. That's my biggest thing. Like, look, I feel bad for his kids. I do feel bad that Brady is realizing this now. But my question is, what did you expect?
The
Dude?
$25 million. I hope it spends well, Tom. That you took.
$25 million
allow that to happen.
It's 25 pennies for him, man.
No, he made up for his crypto losses.
Andrew would sell Cooper for $25 million.
That's not true.
No,
that's a horrible thing.
No,
to say.
him, Shaq, some of the others, all that lost money in crypto. They're all doing
They're finding ways.
They'll do a way to get a cash grab to go. Okay, I did not lose. I'm even now.
Yes, absolutely. All right, coming up next, I want to play. We'll reset the show. Normally we do it at 8 o'clock, but we have Shefty on, so we didn't. But I also want to play that clip from our conversation with Adam Schefter just now, where he talks about Jalen Hurts, and now maybe there is more of a spotlight on him this year, even though I know a lot of Eagles fans don't want to do it. But league circles talk, and I want to hold him to a higher standard this year. Discuss that more next. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Another win.
Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Schedule release day. Can't wait to find out exactly how it pans out for the Eagles. We'll find that out tonight. Make sure you're watching our YouTube special with Andrew DiCecco and Bill Colarulo coming your way at 7:30 this evening before the schedule drops. And then we find out when the Eagles are going to what locations, who's coming here when. We already know the opponents, but we'll see how the schedule plays out. That comes your way tonight, 7:30. The special, it starts. The schedule drops at 8 o'clock. Now, I want to just kind of reset the show, but I want to go into this Jalen Hurts thing a little bit. But here's what we started the show off talking about, and I would love to hear from you on the phone line and the text line, 610-632-0975. And both topics are kind of the same. It's just one's about the Eagles and one's about the Phillies. And I'm asking whether or not you're buying in to the Eagles being ranked 5th in the NFL power rankings for ESPN.com. That means the people that cover the league have the Eagles right now on paper. Again, a lot of this is on paper, as the 5th best team heading into the 2024 season, despite everything that transpired last year. A 10-1 start that collapsed to 11-6 and a playoff appearance that was abysmal. Questions about the head coach. Now questions about the quarterback. There's uncertainty about the future of the offensive line now that Jason Kelce has retired. Same with the defensive line now that Fletcher Cox is retired, and they traded away their best pass rusher in Hassan Reddick. There's questions about the linebacker position. We played that Vic Fangio clip the other day. He didn't really give a ringing endorsement about the Eagles linebackers. And yet with all of this, the people that cover the league inside and out have the Eagles as the 5th best team on the power rankings. So I want to know, what does that tell you? Question number one. Question number two, are you buying it? We have had more people say they're not buying it than they are.
I think we're more critical. And I think we also know more than the national media.
Could be, because we study this team inside and out.
We watch every game.
The guy that covers the Texans is not really focusing on the Eagles.
He's not watching this, and he's saying, he's looking at it on the people who don't cover the Eagles, that aren't Giants, Commanders, Cowboys.
Right.
The other beat writers. If you go AFC teams, AFC West and everything, they're going on paper.
Right.
And they're looking at it and saying, the Eagles are loaded on paper. Last year was just a blip on the radar. Those closer to it might say, yeah, I got questions about Hurts. Yeah, I have questions about this coaching staff.
But then the teams
have.
behind them in the power rankings are the Texans, who they're a fun team. We'll see if they can continue.
They're going to be fun.
What they did last year going into this season. The Miami Dolphins are 7th. I will not believe in them until I see it.
I don't either.
The Buffalo Bills are 8th. I will not believe in them until I see it.
I believe in them more than Miami usually.
Okay. The Cincinnati Bengals are 9th. I think they will climb up. The Packers are 10th. So I don't know if you can make a case for all those teams to probably be ahead of the Eagles, but I don't think it's a strong enough case for me to say, yeah, this is crazy that they're 5th. It's not crazy that they're 5th if you look at the teams behind them, right? There's no team outside of the top 10 where you go, wow, that team's being disrespected. So I want to know, what does it tell you that they're 5th on these power rankings? Are you buying it? 610-632-0975. And then the same question for the Phillies. Are you buying this team as a legitimate 30-13 team? Because every time we have talked about the Phillies with an exciting point of view, which we have done a lot of this year, no duh, they're 30-13.
Why not?
Somebody always checks in on the text line, phone line, email, Twitter, you name it. Hey, pump the brakes, slow down. The schedule's been too easy for them. When I can say they have played down to their opponents year in and year out. They're not doing that this year, and I think that should be celebrated.
Absolutely.
So are you buying them as a real 30-13 team?
No.
You're not?
No, 30-13, no, because that means you're saying
112 wins.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not buying that. No,
right,
but what I am buying is I bought them to win the division before the season.
Did.
So I believe they're right on track for what I thought they'd be.
Okay.
I honestly didn't think the Braves would be keeping – if you told me the Phillies were going to start 30-13, I never in a million years would have thought
the Braves are right there.
The Braves would be keeping pace with them. And then the Dodgers are right there too.
Yep, they are.
There's 3 teams in the National League.
Oh, and that's why I said the other day they should be held to the same standard as the Dodgers and the Braves.
They're spending as much. They're spending more than Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why shouldn't they?
Now, speaking of standard, yesterday, even though I was the crazy one, it seemed, I was saying that I think Jalen Hurts this season should be held to a higher standard. Last year, I think a lot of people expected him to carry over his performance from 2022. I did not. I thought he was going to take a slight step back. I use the word regression or regress, but not like regress he stinks. But I think a lot of people take that as such a harsh word.
But he did regress.
He regressed.
He did.
He regressed. He was not as good last year as he was 2 seasons ago. So by definition, he regressed. Is it a harsh word? Yes, but by definition, he did. This year, I think he will be better than he was last year. But I'm going to hold him to a higher standard because he's now getting paid a lot more.
Okay.
Part of the reasons why they may have had issues last season was because of leadership and because he went rogue, right? There were things that are now being pointed to Jalen Hurts. Now that more time has surpassed, there have been more things pointing to maybe Jalen Hurts was a part of the problem last season in more ways than one and not just on the field.
Well, you've heard players in the locker room. There's the video clip of Jason Kelsey saying before last season, Jalen, this is your locker room now.
Yes.
It's not mine, it's yours. And they need him to be that guy.
They need him to be that guy, and I expect him to grow into that. Jeff McClain joined us yesterday. He expects him to grow into it. I'm sure he's talked to people inside NovaCare that may be telling him that he's growing into it. But I said he will be held to a higher standard, or I will hold him to a higher standard, and I got some pushback for it yesterday. But Adam Schefter, who joined us last segment, seems like he may feel the exact same way.
With him, it's a case where 2 years ago, talking about him being one of the faces of the league, one of the guys that has completely turned around this franchise, and then a year later, everybody's trying to figure out what went wrong. So what is the truth with Jalen Hurts? Is he a superstar, worthy of the contract that they gave him, or is he a question mark, the way that some people had last year? And right now, the only person who's going to be able to answer that is Jalen Hurts with his play this year. If Jalen Hurts comes out and plays great again, there are no worries. All set. All systems go. But if he comes out and is up and down and inconsistent, doesn't play well, which I don't expect, but if he has one of those kinds of seasons again, now we're going to start to be in a conversation of who's playing quarterback long term, right? I mean, you can't have 2 years in a row like the type he had last year and think that everything's going to be okay and that we're set at that position. I don't think that would happen. You're asking all these questions about the coaching staff being under fire and prove it, and I think the quarterback has a lot to prove this year. He was so good 2 years ago. He was dominant. And then all of a sudden, last year, for reasons that none of us have figured out, he wasn't.
And again, he got paid for that 1 year 2 years ago. I was totally fine with the contract. This is not doing revisionist history, not doing any of this. I was totally fine with the contract. The people that point out, wow, when Shane Steichen took over, he was so much better 3 year ago. I gave you the numbers. It actually wasn't that much better. It was 2 seasons ago. He played like the MVP.
Okay.
Runner-up. And I think he still should have won because the 2 games he was out, they lost, and that tells me he was the most valuable player to the Eagles and maybe to the NFL. But he got paid for that 1 year.
He did.
His following season, he was not as good. And as Adam Schefter points out, if it happens again this year, and I made sure to ask the question, Howie Roseman does not sit on his hands. Well, we saw what he did with Wentz.
Well, the one thing that you got to bring up with this, when Adam Schefter speaks and he's giving his opinions and he's talking.
Got to talk Shefty.
He's also talking to GMs, coaches, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So he's hearing stuff. When Adam comes that strong, that says to me this is more than just a mild talking point around the Eagles.
Yeah.
As much as it is the NFL.
This isn't just sports radio guy asking questions.
This is, okay, time to step up. And because of the fact that we don't get any kind of, like, sort of behind the mic, and people are like, why do you care about whether he's behind the mic? This is one of those reasons why you might care.
So
is there were problems.
I'll ask you, are you now going to kind of get to where I'm at?
Well, I already was where you were at as far as I wanted him to be, first of all, I expect him to be more like 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And my expectation means that's where I think he should be.
Okay.
Do I think he's going to exceed 2022? Hell, I don't know.
No, I don't think.
I think he can be? If you go from 6 interceptions to 15, that's garbage.
Right.
You go from all the fumbles, you can't have it. All the unforced errors last year, can't have it. If he's playing sloppy football like he did last year, you have every right to question where this thing's going.
And look, I'll say this, and I'm not going hot take. I don't think he'll ever be as good as 2022. That was...
You really do think he couldn't get there?
Dude, he was 1A, 1B with Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, so you don't ever believe he can derive
I think he can be very good. That was a Dude, he was almost perfect.
See, I watched him in the Super Bowl, I believe, outplay Patrick Mahomes.
This isn't me saying I think he's a mediocre quarterback.
No.
Like, he almost was the best quarterback in the NFL that year.
I think
that's
he still
a hard
could.
thing to replicate.
No, it is, but I still think he can absolutely be in that discussion.
He could be in the discussion, but Patrick Mahomes is the only guy that can do it year in and year out.
Oh, no.
I
You're
don't
right
know.
about
and
that.
Look, we've seen other top quarterbacks not be able to do it year in and year out.
You're right about that.
So I don't think that's a shot at Jalen Hurts. I think it's also unfair, and I said this to you. I think it's unfair to ever expect him to do similar things to a Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is his own beast. All right, I want to get some reaction to this. 610-632-0975. It seems like league circles are putting Jalen Hurts to a higher standard this year. So let's talk about that more. Coming your way next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, Around the Bases with Andrew Salciunas.
nobody wants to hold him to a higher standard. Everyone wants to play nice. And then Shefty kind of says it, and now some people want to talk about it.
Who didn't want to hold him to a higher standard?
I don't know. Now all of a sudden Shefty says it. Text line's apparently blowing up. Is that correct,
people giving you grief about this on Twitter?
No.
Because I think most people want to. I think
I said something yesterday that made people uncomfortable, and they didn't want to admit it yet. That you need to hold Jalen Hurts to a higher standard because Jalen Hurts and Tyrese Maxey, very similar, right? Where it's, we love them. Oh, they can do no wrong. There's going to come a time where you're going to have to hold them to a higher standard. Tyrese Maxey got that this year, right? Like, we held him to a higher standard. He did not look good against the Miami Heat. We pointed it out against the Miami Heat. But what did he do? He turned it around against the Knicks.
He did.
But he's going to be Mr. Max contract player next year. He's now going to have to be held to a different standard next season once he gets the max contract. Jalen Hurts, this is year one of the big contract. This is when it kicks in. He needs to be held to a different standard this year. It can't just be, oh, Jalen Hurts he's the savior from Carson Wentz anymore. Now it's his team. It's time to start talking about it that way. So
and we're going to bring the same energy next year.
Absolutely. And I know we have people coming in on the text line, but I saw Steve in Delaware called in like right away when Schefter was talking about it. So let's go to Steve first. What's up, Steve?
Hey, how you guys doing this morning?
Good, buddy.
How are you?
So, I believe Jalen Hurts should be held to a higher standard. I mean, obviously, at this point in the game, on paper, this offense is too good for him not to be successful. And the only thing that I really need him to step up in is I need him to protect the football, move the chains, no hero ball, throw it away. When it's not there, just throw the ball away. But I don't need him to be a rah-rah leader type guy if that's not who he is. But I need him to take command where you have to be able to change the dynamic of the game. And that's not always with the rah-rah.
Can I ask you something, Steve? What did you think about Carson Wentz?
I love Carson Wentz, but there were times where it was just like sometimes it just wasn't authentic. And then there were times where, sometimes I believe he didn't get a fair shake when it came to the weapons that he had. Now,
he didn't get a fair shake.
What I'm trying to get at is what you just said about Jalen Hurts. He needs to not play hero ball. He needs to protect the ball better. He needs to not take the sack when he can get rid of the football. That's exactly what we said about Wentz, man.
Yeah, I think that with Wentz, you saw, though, I don't know. I saw a skill set where I thought you had the franchise quarterback for the next 2 decades.
Yeah.
As that. And my quick Sixers point, I was like this. If you're able in a position to get LeBron, get LeBron.
Damn right, Steve.
As good as you're ever going to get. So it's just like this. I don't know what anybody's talking about. If you're able to get LeBron or KD, get them because you need to maximize and be now.
Bring them all to me, Steve. Bring them all to me. We appreciate the call,
Have we not seen the KD thing sort of not working out for everybody who thinks it's going to work out?
Bring them all to me. It's real, dude. It's funny. I saw Stephen A. Smith reported that Kevin Durant is unhappy in Phoenix.
Yeah, Kevin Durant wants to move on.
He was unhappy in Brooklyn. He was unhappy in Golden State.
Every team he gets to put together. Yeah, I'm unhappy. But
you bet your ass I'm taking him.
But he wants to glob on. If he can find a way play to glob on and win a championship, he'll do it.
What do we have on the text line there, Connor, about what we just got into with Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, so we have a new texter, first-time texter, John from Doylestown.
What's up, John?
With Hurts actually taking snaps from under center for a percentage of the time, utilizing play action with Kellen Moore, he's going to be a different Jalen Hurts no matter what this year.
Okay, I expect him to be better. I want to make that clear. I expect him to be better this year. Me saying I'm going to hold him to a higher standard does not mean like, oh, I think he's going to stink. But what I will say is if he's struggling this year, I'm not making excuses for him. I'm not making the new offense excuse, right? You have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley now.
Okay.
All right? If times are tough, you can hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley, right? Like, I'm not going to give him excuses. If any other quarterback, you like to play this game, and I agree with you. We ripped Dak Prescott for all the weapons that he has had, and he's never won anything. Mm-hmm. If any other team had all those weapons and the quarterback was not playing or clicking on all cylinders, we would say, wow, how is he not playing better with those weapons around him? This year, I'm going to hold him to a higher standard.
Like, I mean, if you're talking to me, there are people who say, I'll hear people here, Dak's trash. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, he's not trash, but we have ripped him when he has come up small with the weapons that he's had around.
Hang on, what month is it?
All right, exactly. He is trash.
Call me in January. See ya, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. He is trash come January. All right, I want to continue this conversation in the 9 o'clock hour. Also in the 9 o'clock hour, the big jumping off point has been what Adam Schefter had to say about Jalen Hurts. We're going to play our 5 best minutes of Adam Schefter like we do every single Wednesday at 9:10. So that comes your way at 9:10. But before we get to that, I want to get some more of your reaction to this. Adam Schefter made it seem like league circles are talking about Jalen Hurts.
We're reading into that, but I think we're reading into it well.
We know how to speak Shefty.
Yep.
All right? But I want to hear from you guys. 610-632-0975, phone line, text line. Are you going to hold Jalen Hurts to a higher standard going into this season? I think he's going to be better. But if he struggles, it can't be the same excuses or maybe laid-back attitude that we had last year. This is the first quarterback in NFL history, or Philadelphia Eagles history, where they haven't been criticized that much.
No, you almost said enough. I think he's been criticized enough.
We'll continue the conversation. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies mute the Mets back.
5 best minutes of Adam Schefter. Joins us every single Wednesday at 8 o'clock, so you'll hear that coming your way at 9:10. Want to let you know about the Fanatic Deal of the Week. Another great one. Get a $100 gift card to New Jersey Motorsports Park for just $50. Located in Millville, New Jersey, you'll be able to experience high-speed thrills with arrive and drive go-karting, plus axe throwing and a wide range menu at the Finish Line Pub. That sounds good. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals.
You heard pub and you were in.
Yes.
You heard pub.
Oh, I heard axe throwing and I was in, and I heard go-karts and I was in. Like, this is my wheelhouse. I am still 12, except I can drink, so pub also works. I'm a 12-year-old, dude. Like, I'm going to be me for my entire life.
That's a good thing. Youthful joy of things is a wonderful thing.
I talked to Joe Zerzlo, great sales exec here at the station. I talked to him the other day. He was at your Hall of Fame induction. And, I forget what the conversation even was. And I was like, Joe, never in my life have I pretended to be cool. I am just me, man. I'm unapologetically me. I'm a child, and I love it. And I get to, like, I think it's so cool I'm playing with Coop now. I think I like the toys more than he does. His little Tykes basketball.
Except the little lawnmower.
Except the little.
Just hurting your back.
I'm getting tired of that freaking thing. One's about to go in the trash. Daddy, mow with me. Like, no, dude, my back hurts. I just mowed the lawn myself with the real lawnmower. Thanks to our friends at Bobby Moyer and Son.
They're the best.
Yeah, they are. All right, so I want to ask the question again. I asked it yesterday. I will ask it again today. Should Jalen Hurts be held to a higher standard? Let's play that clip. I know we're going to replay 5 best minutes, but here was Adam Schefter earlier with us talking about Jalen Hurts, and it seems like this is what maybe people along league circles are talking about.
With him, it's a case where 2 years ago, talking about him being one of the faces of the league, one of the guys that has completely turned around this franchise, and then a year later, everybody's trying to figure out what went wrong. So what is the truth with Jalen Hurts? Is he a superstar, worthy of the contract that they gave him, or is he a question mark, the way that some people had last year? And right now, the only person who's going to be able to answer that is Jalen Hurts with his play this year. If Jalen Hurts comes out and plays great again, there are no worries. All set. All systems go. But if he comes out and is up and down and inconsistent, doesn't play well, which I don't expect, but if he has one of those kinds of seasons again, now we're going to start to be in a conversation of who's playing quarterback long term, right? I mean, you can't have 2 years in a row like the type he had last year and think that everything's going to be okay and that we're set at that position. I don't think that would happen. You're asking all these questions about the coaching staff being under fire and proving, and I think the quarterback has a lot to prove this year. He was so good 2 years ago. He was dominant. And then all of a sudden, last year, for reasons that none of us have figured out, he wasn't.
That's bold. That's more bold the second time hearing it.
Yeah.
That is as much as you will hear Adam Schefter shift to a. That's a strong position.
It was a very strong statement. So I'll ask you guys the question again. Are you going to hold him to a higher standard this season? I said yesterday, I think we have to.
I think everybody is, though. That's what I don't get is I don't think anybody's 22 is.
You already have the built-in excuse of the new coordinator.
I don't think no. You've got the best tools in the business. You have the best tools in the business, and I don't know about the offensive line because I have to see the offensive line without Kelsey.
I got you. Yeah,
but you still have a very, very solid offense.
I can already hear. Well, the first 4 weeks are just—it's basically the preseason.
No, I don't want to hear that crap.
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear any excuses this year.
None
okay?
of that. No, I think that's fine.
And I expect him to be better.
You're so bold on this, though.
I am bold.
Why Hurts? And why not other superstars? You don't hold others to this same. You seem very, very. Is it you're wishing what you saw in 22 was more real, or you're doubting that it was real?
No, I don't doubt that it's real.
Because the excuses we hear all the excuses.
It's all the excuses in the world. I don't think. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to ever play like 2022 again, which was the second best player in the world.
He was amazing.
In the world, right? He was the second best football player.
He should have won MVP.
In the world. He should have won MVP. There are a lot of other quarterbacks that will be in the MVP consideration every single year, right? I think he's still going to be in talks. I just don't he was almost perfect 2 years ago. Almost perfect. He had an incredible season. People were saying that it was the best statistical season in Eagles franchise history.
I just want to tell people, now this is where I'll say pump the brakes.
Okay.
December 1st, 2023, he was the leading odds to win the MVP.
That's great and all, but were you?
No, what I'm saying is, though, December 1st.
Yeah. Were you watching him thinking he was playing like an MVP?
I thought it was a distinct step back from the year before.
I think so too.
But he was the leading odds for MVP December 1st of last year. I think where people overreact to maybe how great 2022 was, I think they maybe overreact to what we saw at the end of the year. There was a lot of mess going on. I just don't know how much of that mess he was responsible for.
Now, to answer your question, so go ahead, Connor.
Well, I'm going to answer too because I think I know why Jalen Hurts is held to a higher standard in your mind.
A, quarterback's the most important position
Exactly
in sports.
it.
B, Joel Embiid, look, I know what the story is. He's hurt, but when he's healthy, the guy's a freaking beast. Have there been playoff issues in the past? Yes, there have.
Have there been times where he isn't hurt and he's just out of condition or
I don't think
things
he's
like
ever
that?
been out of condition since like 2019.
No. But there have been in his career. We're talking about this is still the beginning of Jalen Hurts' career.
It is.
If you
Quarterback's a different beast, though.
Yeah, dude,
Okay.
listen, Embiid can have bad playoff games. He could have bad playoff series. The Sixers can overcome that. Now, largely, he has to be good. But if Jalen Hurts has one bad play in the Super Bowl,
change everything.
You lose.
And it did.
And
I
this
think
is
I still
not
insist
just-
they lost that Super Bowl because we gave them 7 points that they didn't give us.
Right.
Now,
That was
I'll
it.
also say this. This isn't necessarily a Jalen Hurts thing. I think this is a football thing. Right, look, one game can change everything in a season. So I think it's also a football thing that I have this kind of mentality.
Okay, look at this. Do you think the two quarterbacks who advanced further in the NFC last year are better than Hurts?
No.
Okay. So you put that on Hurts that they didn't advance?
No, I put
I'm just
it
trying to get
on the whole team. No, last year is such a crazy story. It
Would
was
you
not
rather-
just on Jalen Hurts. I'm talking specifically Jalen Hurts, though.
Would you rather have Hurts or Lamar?
Lamar.
Okay. I think that's a one that I'd be iffy if you.
Okay.
Hurts or Mahomes?
Well, no,
Yeah,
we know that
exactly.
one. No, but I mean, as far as I'm just saying is that I think there is I want my quarterback held to a different standard, and 2023 can't be the standard. But I also have a lot less concerns about Jalen Hurts because early in his career, he's shown me that he is ready for the stage. And on the biggest stage of his life, he was the best game of his life.
I may have another schedule leak for you.
Uh-oh.
Let's go to Jay in West Philly first. What's up, Jay?
So you probably got the answer you wanted to in the time.
What's that?
From Shefty. Because you keep the same pressure on Jalen that you put on your Mr. Glass first baseman over here.
Mr. Glass. He has a migraine.
I
Mr.
don't give a
Glass.
damn what he got.
Mr. Glass, he has a migraine.
Yeah, he got migraine. He got a bad back. His team regressing. Hold him.
Teams regressing. They're 30-13. What are you talking about?
He did what?
You said the team is regressing. They're 30-13.
Yeah, against the Colorado.
Oh, my God.
Come on, Jay.
The Braves have lost to similar teams. Like, what are you,
Yeah,
Jay?
well,
Come on. You are
1-2
crazy.
against the
I
Braves.
love you, but you drive me
1-2 against
nuts.
the Braves. Now you're going to hang up now.
Now, wait a minute.
No,
wait.
I haven't hung up on you. You're
1-2
still
against
here.
the Braves.
They lost 2 of
1-2
3.
against the Braves.
Yes, that was 2 months ago.
Yeah, well, still we're record against competition.
Jay, I just want to see the same energy when we're talking Joel Embiid, expectations,
Exactly,
and all those kind of things. I want to see this because it seems like there's a lot of excuses made for
All right,
people.
no. I don't want to move on from the conversation. You said the team has
A lot of
regressed. They're 30-13.
Yeah, and they went to the World Series, and then you're Mr. Glass first.
All right, it's been 43 games. I get it. The story's not over for the Phillies,
Is this
but
the
through the
playoffs?
43 games, it's been incredible.
It's not the NLCS and all that. And
Bro,
if this game hurts performance,
I love you. I love you. You drive me crazy, man. You drive me crazy. I appreciate the call. Maybe not. I don't know.
He's driving you a little crazy.
Come on. They've regressed?
No.
That's asinine.
No, I mean, but let's go back to his original point, though. Your energy standard level you expect of Jalen Hurts is very different.
I ripped Bryce Harper for how he played in the NLCS last year.
I'll tell you this. I think Bryce Harper's been spectacular on so many levels.
Yes, and I ripped him for how he played in the NLCS.
I don't remember this level of.
Then you must.
This level.
It's
No, I
okay. You
remember
may
how
have been
bad it
listening to
was.
another midday show.
No, I was listening to it. I didn't hear this kind of energy. This is for Bryce 2 years in a row at the end of the year.
I will have B-Gun go grab the audio. Ask Scott Masteller. He's told me his favorite segment was me after Game 6 of the NLCS. I ripped every freaking member of that team
What just
that
happened
ripped my
to this
heart out.
show?
God.
He's tweaking you a bit here.
All right. Again, I don't believe in these leaks all the time. But there's a Twitter account, NFL schedule update.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No.
It's one of the ones that was fake last year.
This is an important one.
Why?
Eagles at New Orleans.
Yeah.
They're saying week 3. Just letting you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right,
that's one of those ones that's one of the Twitter accounts last year that was wrong.
All right.
On many.
Maybe they'll be right this year.
I'm just giving you
could be.
a potential
that would be great.
Schedule league for the Eagles, which we promised we would do today. All right, it's time now for the 5 best minutes of Adam Schefter. The great Adam Schefter joins us. Shefty, good morning.
Good morning, Andrew and John. How are we doing today on this schedule release day?
We are fired up because of it. Schedule release day. We've been following you along on social media, but I do want to ask you a question because ESPN.com did put together their preseason power rankings, and the Eagles come in at number 5, which I'm not surprised that they're very high up on the list. I expected them to be a top 10 team, but because of everything that transpired last season, I am a little shocked that the people at ESPN, the people that you work with, have them at 5th. So what does that tell you, the opinion that people have about this Eagles team, that they still think that highly of them despite everything that happened last year?
Well, first of all, power rankings mean as much to me as wins and losses on a schedule when it comes out, and mock drafts. So I put power rankings in my power rankings of things probably 3rd.
Okay.
Wins and losses on the schedule on a mock draft. But you know what power rankings are? How much respect you have for a team at this time of the year going into the year. How much do you respect that team? And right now, I haven't seen those power rankings. I'm guessing that the teams that they respect more and expect more of would be Kansas City, Baltimore, San Francisco, maybe Detroit.
That's the top 4.
Ding, ding. Not in that exact order. It was Kansas City, San Francisco, Baltimore, Detroit. But you're spot on, Shefty.
Right. Okay, so those are the teams that people are expecting to be very good. Those are the teams that people respect right now for whatever that's worth. It's going to shift every week. But there aren't many teams you look at going into the season and say, boy, I like this team's chances going into the year better than Philadelphia's. Like, Philadelphia is stacked. It's loaded. The Eagles have done a great job building back up the coaching staff, building back up the roster, positioning themselves as much as they can for the challenges that are in front of them, for the schedule that'll be released, for the order of the games, to see how they're going to be played out. But they're in a position right now where now it'll be up to the coaches and players to do what they need to do to get done everything that they need to get done to have the type of successful season that they aspire to have.
We've been talking a lot about Jalen Hurts, obviously. He's the franchise quarterback of this team. And one of the things that we're trying to figure out is what he needs to improve on for this upcoming season. Last year, it was pocket presence. I remember I actually spoke with Jeremy Fowler about that. He was told from somebody inside NovaCare that was what they were really focusing on during camp, was Jalen Hurts, his ability to pass in the pocket. What are league circles talking about, something that he needs to improve on going into this upcoming season? And I'll ask you, is it necessarily on the field of play, or could leadership be a part of that conversation as well?
With him, it's a case where 2 years ago, talking about him being one of the faces of the league, one of the guys that has completely turned around this franchise, and then a year later, everybody's trying to figure out what went wrong. So what is the truth with Jalen Hurts? Is he a superstar, worthy of the contract that they gave him, or is he a question mark, the way that some people had last year? And right now, the only person who's going to be able to answer that is Jalen Hurts with his play this year. If Jalen Hurts comes out and plays great again, there are no worries. All set. All systems go. But if he comes out and is up and down and inconsistent, doesn't play well, which I don't expect, but if he has one of those kinds of seasons again, now we're going to start to be in a conversation of who's playing quarterback long term, right? I mean, you can't have 2 years in a row like the type he had last year and think that everything's going to be okay and that we're set at that position. I don't think that would happen. You're asking all these questions about the coaching staff being under fire and prove it, and I think the quarterback has a lot to prove this year. He was so good 2 years ago. He was dominant. And then all of a sudden, last year, for reasons that none of us have figured out, he wasn't.
Back to Hurts. Last thing before we let you go. In your opinion, among the top-paid quarterbacks in the NFL, and knowing that Howie Roseman is not necessarily somebody that sits on his hands long, does Jalen Hurts have the most to prove this season amongst the other top-paid quarterbacks in the NFL?
Well, I think that I'd have to go through that list, right? Because there are some top-paid guys that are still trying to get paid. You know, Matthew Stafford has wanted a new contract. And Jordan Love and Tua and Trevor Lawrence are in line for a new contract. Do we include them? Like, quarterbacks are always on the firing line. And if you don't step up, and it could lead to radical decisions with the team, whether it's in Philadelphia or New York with the Giants or any other team. What if Kirk Cousins this year doesn't step up? Is he getting benched? Are they moving on from his money because Michael Penix is there? Like, we could come up with a storyline like that, Andrew, for almost every quarterback. There are probably 7 or 8 quarterbacks off the top of my head that are probably locked in and immune to any sort of conversation like that. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. I might put Brock Purdy in there, believe it or not.
Sure.
You know, Jared Goff, who just got paid. Nothing's happened. That's 6 right there.
Right.
I just named to you.
All right, there's our 5 best minutes from Adam Schefter. Thank you to Brendan Gunn for putting that together. And, of course, thank you to Landis Block for bringing us Shefty every single Wednesday at 8 o'clock. I do have the list in front of me, the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL.
Where did Hurts slip to?
Hurts is 4th. This is not updated with Goff, but I don't think
then
Goff,
it has to be 5th.
I don't think Goff is higher.
Are you going yearly or overall?
I have total value. That's what I have in front. It's from overthecap.com.
Total value Goff's probably not there because
I didn't think he was higher. But I'll ask you, quarterbacks that have a lot to prove based off of what they're getting. And I asked Shefty specifically the top paid quarterback.
What they're getting paid, right?
Joe Burrow, I mean, he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, he's two of 3 years on health.
Right. He's gotten to a Super Bowl,
right,
but the guy can't stay healthy. Justin Herbert has a ton to prove.
A ton.
And look, he's got a new coach this year.
He's done nothing.
He doesn't have weapons anymore. They are not the wide receivers that he had are gone. Now they were always hurt, but
dude, he's West Coast Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
They're the same
man.
guy.
He's got a ton to prove.
That's not a bad one.
Lamar Jackson just won MVP, so he's okay.
Whoa. Tons to prove though. He's got to win in the playoffs.
He does.
He doesn't win in the playoffs.
Got him to a
He got him an AFC title game last year.
Yeah.
Yes, and then did the same sort of game that he's been.
Yeah.
Every one of his playoff seasons ends with that kind of game.
Kyler Murray definitely more than Jalen Hurts. Kyler Murray might. We'll see who Kyler Murray is.
A lot more to prove.
Yeah, a lot more to prove.
But the expectations for Kyler Murray lower.
But he's getting
paid big time.
Top dollar, which is why I think it's crazy that these quarterbacks get paid as much as they do sometimes. Deshaun Watson, his contract's ridiculous. $230 million
it's all guaranteed, right?
Fully guaranteed. Kirk Cousins, we know who Kirk Cousins is, and then we reach Patrick Mahomes. We know who Patrick Mahomes is. I would say like Dak Prescott's a guy because he's looking to get a contract.
Okay.
That might need to prove more than Jalen Hurts at this point.
Kind of, but Dak Prescott's also a guy that they're going to be teams lined up to pay.
Yeah, you're right.
Cowboys don't.
Because this league is crazy.
Stupid.
No, 2/3 of the league would dump their quarterback for him.
So who may have more to prove than Jalen Hurts? I'm guessing Herbert's number 1.
Herbert's got to be 1.
Has to be.
And I'm telling you, as much I think Lamar has to prove it too.
Okay.
Individual hardware is great. Performing in the playoffs is another. I mean, he just has not been the same
Was
guy.
without his best weapon. I know Andrews did return for that game, but he wasn't really ready to play. So there is a bit of an excuse for him there. So we'll see.
Last 2 times he's gone to the playoffs, he's won a game and then lost the next game. Last year was the title game.
Okay.
But, I mean, he's got a lot to prove.
He's still got a lot to prove. Now, what do we have on the text line about Jalen Hurts there, Connor?
Yeah, so we have a check-in from Sean here, and Sean wants to bring up what Jalen Hurts has around him. So when you talk about a top 5 receiving core, top 5 running back, arguably a top 5 tight end, there's no excuses for Jalen Hurts to not finish as a top 5 quarterback.
I agree.
That's fair.
I
think
agree.
that's completely fair. And I don't think that's hot take-ish or otherwise.
No, that's why I say I don't want to hear the built-in excuses of new coordinator, which I do know. Look, I get it. That's a big deal, a new coordinator, especially for him because it's been, 5 coordinators in 6 years? Like, I understand that's going back to college. I understand that's a pretty big deal. It's something that's hard to overcome. But I hear about how Kellen Moore is this master, then...
Well, so how long do we give him? Is there any buffer at all? Like, week 1, if stuff looks clunky, are we like, well, they're figuring it out?
You can't do that. You cannot be stupid
I don't want to hear the first 4 weeks is basically the preseason.
That's ridiculous.
I don't want to hear that by anybody, okay?
No, that's the head coach says that a lot.
I don't want to hear that. Well, and you know what? If the head coach says that, then play your guys in the preseason.
Yeah, but he won't.
He won't.
Because he's afraid.
Well...
Or the analytics tell him not to. That's why he won't.
Andy Reid's analytics, one of those. They still win Super Bowls.
Yeah, go out there and play. Belichick, go out there and play.
Yeah, exactly. All right, coming up next. So John said something. We'll continue this conversation because I know we have more people on the line that want to talk about it. But John said something to me before the show, Connor. You weren't around when he said it. And it was something that I don't think we have an answer for, John. I think it's just jealousy.
Could be.
I'll explain that next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Salciunas on this Wednesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic. Coming our way at about 9:50, our crossover with one Bob Cooney. Bob Cooney coming your way at 10 o'clock for the midday show. And before that, of course, the Key 3, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3, the 3 best minutes from that day's show. But it is scheduled release day, so we've been excited for that. What is the game? I wanted to ask you this. We didn't get to it during the today's headlines because I know we were going to talk about it. I'm going to do a post once the schedule comes out. So you did your ideal schedule.
I've done a ton of them. The ideal schedule I've got.
I'm going to do, once the schedule comes out, the order of games that I'm most excited about. Because spot is a big deal. Like, is there a Christmas game? Blah, 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 blah.
By the way, don't want one.
I know. Me neither.
Do not want a Christmas game.
Right now, without knowing when the games are, what is the game that you're most excited about?
For me, it's always Eagles-Cowboys.
Okay, fine.
Like, for me, it's always Eagles-Cowboys. But
Put Eagles-Cowboys
if I took that out of the mix, I think the one I'm most excited for would be to see the Eagles at the Bengals.
Okay. Connor?
I'm fighting myself. My first thought is the Ravens.
That's mine.
My second thought is the Panthers. Because
the Panthers?
I just want to watch a win.
I want to watch them beat the brakes off somebody, dude. I'm so tired of every game's close, and I got to worry about stuff with this.
Get ready for it this year.
I just want to see them hang 50 on someone, please.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like something easy.
But because you're not a football guy, that's why you say that.
Oh, stop it.
Cincinnati's second for me. Baltimore's number 1. And a lot of it has to do with the right down 95. I have a lot of family in Baltimore. I may go to when the Phillies play the Orioles. We're talking about going down there and seeing a family.
We will be there Saturday.
That's the game I might go to.
We're going the Saturday game.
Also, I'll let you know if I'm going.
We got a bus trip.
Your carpool.
We got a bus trip going on. No, we got a bus trip that we've just hijacked from our local township.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we got like 20 seats on the bus.
What?
There's like 50 seats on the bus that they had available. We booked like 20 of them, 20 or 22.
Is there any left?
I don't know.
I'll drive to Westchester, hop on a bus.
Well, I can see. We'll look at the website.
So if Cooper falls asleep, I can just hold him while he's on the bus.
You can do that.
That's the only thing that's keeping us from going right now. And the fact that we fly to Lithuania 2 weeks later, so we don't know if we want to really swing it financially.
Okay.
It's not like that's a cheap vacation.
Exactly.
By any means. Paying for a third airline ticket, I found, hurts.
It does. It starts to get to you.
Yeah.
You can't sneak him on as your emotional support toddler?
No. He is now of age where he has to have a seat. So, Phillies games 3 and below go in for free. Airlines, it's 2 and above, and he just turned 2 in March.
Yeah, you got to be 2 and above.
That's how they get you.
Yeah,
there's nothing worse than having a big kid on someone's lap.
So that one's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, Baltimore for me is number 1. Family related, and then also it's a great game. I mean, Eagles Ravens, and it's right down 95. I'm excited for it. All right, so before the show, Connor, you were either in the bathroom. I don't know where you were. I don't follow you around.
I was probably working hard prepping. Wait.
Well, no, you were not behind me at the time.
Was it before I got in? Because Vine Tree was shut down this morning.
It may have been that. I'm not sure. You were not in your chair yet. John said to me out loud, man, I just want to have what the Nuggets have. How can the Sixers get to what the Nuggets have?
I said, I had a hard time watching the Nuggets last night and watching Minnesota and seeing 2 teams, and then I go back onto the web and I'm looking and I'm like, okay, these teams go 8 deep. It's not 8 deep, but 8 deep in like they have guys who can give them 8 to 10 minutes at the end of their 8th guy.
Yeah.
How did the Sixers get there from where they're at right now? I'm finding it really hard to believe.
They don't. And that's why I wrote down, I don't think you can say that there's an answer. Obviously, you might hit and miss. Like, George Niang gave you more than he's ever given in his career. Look, he's not playing well with the Cavs, right? George Niang was actually your 6th man, which is actually a tragedy. I know he was on the show with you guys, and you guys are friends with the
had a good
Niang.
time with him.
Cool dude. He's a great dude, but, like, he shouldn't be your 6th man. Right, that was a problem. If he's your 8th or 9th guy, all right, that's pretty good. But he was the Sixers' 6th man a few years ago. They've had issues with developing young talent, and that's a Doc Rivers problem because Doc Rivers didn't want to play any of his younger guys.
Okay.
So they need – Nick Nurse could be a guy – look, Ricky Council gave you legitimate minutes during the regular season. He just didn't trust him yet during the playoffs. Maybe next year he trusts him a little bit more come playoff time. You're going to have to hit on some of these younger guys.
I'm looking at a second-round series. So that's what I was trying to base it on. looking at Minnesota, because, again, I'm not very familiar with Minnesota. Knew Denver a little bit better. And I'm looking at their roster, and I'm going, they got guys who they can go to 7 easily, eight even easily as far as the minutes they're using them, and they're getting 8 to 10 minutes out of their eighth guy.
And quality minutes.
And I'm saying, how could the Sixers ever get there?
The Sixers don't have a Deuce McBride, right? They don't have a guy that's coming off the bench and scoring.
They won't get there till Embiid's gone. He's the solution and the problem, right? The way you win a championship is you have the best basketball player on planet Earth and he plays. But the reason that you can't build a roster the way that Minnesota does, building around Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert,
right,
or Denver building around Jokic and Murray and Porter, is because those guys have a very clear window and you trust them to be available for the most part.
That's the big thing, available. Like Nikola Jokic is healthy.
Right. Like, knowing that every year could be not only another injury for Joel Embiid, but every year we have the conversation of we don't know what this guy's window is. So there's always this inherent pressure. You're on the treadmill constantly with Joel Embiid. And that makes you avoid building teams the way that other teams can because they know their windows.
Yeah, I mean it's a great point. And look,
do you think you can win as you advance in the playoffs? Playing 6 guys?
Well,
I don't.
With really good 6 guys.
With really good 6 guys.
And
look,
like,
I'll be honest, no, you can't, because look at with the Phoenix Suns. The Suns have no bench, and they lose in the first.
And Daryl Morey this year showed us he didn't respect the backup center enough to go and do something. He was fooled into thinking that he had one.
Yeah, I think that's a different conversation. That's just over-evaluating Paul Reed.
He thought he had one.
No, but the last few years with Daryl Morey here, he's always betting on that there's going to be veteran buyout market, and they never cash in on it.
They did have one in Andre Drummond. They just had to trade him to get James Harden. So it's not that he didn't value the backup center. They literally had Andre Drummond, who was arguably the best backup center in the league at that time, but they traded him away because they had to package him to get rid of Ben Simmons, who was not playing, and you got James Harden out of it. As we've said a million times, you do that trade.
Okay, that was 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
He's had a chance to fix that.
He has.
And he's ignored it. He ignored it.
He thought he had something in Paul Reed, which I
So he made an error. That's what I said. He made an error evaluation, or he ignored it.
I don't think he ignored it. I think he made an error in evaluation.
Okay, hope he does. But he sounds like he's going to do it again. His sound bites about I think he's going to do it again.
We'll see. Look, the offseason hasn't.
He's not learning.
Offseason hasn't even started yet. So we'll see. I'm not going to speak in actualities.
No, I'm just going on what he has said. I'm using his words. Here's what he said. He seems set on Paul Reed's a part of this thing going forward.
He may also like having him on the roster still because he's a non-guaranteed contract.
Could be.
And also we have 2 superstars who have called him a liar. So maybe we should see what he does before.
That's absolutely true. Let's go to Victor in Camden. Victor, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yeah, hello.
Hello, Victor.
Hi, Victor.
Yeah, how you doing?
What's up,
man? I got a quick question, right? So when we had Wentz and Hurts was a rookie, he started over Wentz, right? How do y'all feel about Tanner McKee?
I think he's a backup quarterback, maybe. He's a third-string quarterback right now. What am I thinking about Tanner McKee?
So, I only asked that because, he's 6'4", like 230. Got a good back shoulder pass. And he's very accurate, and he has fast release.
Yeah, this is not the Tanner McKee show.
Yeah, I can't.
No, I understand. No, I understand all of that point. The reason why I'm asking all of that is because, I do understand the point where you say is Hurts the guy right now or whatever's going on.
I'm not saying he's not the guy. I'm just saying I'm holding him to a higher standard this year because he is the guy. He's the franchise quarterback. Franchise quarterback should be held to a higher standard, and I don't think he has been in recent years. Or last year he wasn't.
No, so my point is, last year when I called, specifically you two called me low-key Cowboy fan because I brought all of this to your attention.
Well, John, I
didn't call you that. We weren't working together.
Victor, I will tell you, this show started, 45 days ago? So I don't know.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No. I brought the attention when we still had Minshew that basically Hurts really – he's a good guy. Yeah, he's real smart, accurate, but I really think he's a dick and dunker. And when he's not in the pocket, we lack because he basically runs side to side and throws up on the ground. Yes, we can blame offensive coordinator coaching, but he played the same way every year. He's never changed. The only thing that changes is accuracy.
Well, and 2 years ago, he was tremendous at it.
No. I understand that point, but we went to the Super Bowl. Yes, y'all not going to agree with me because it's going to sound real stupid what I'm about to say, but the defense helped them out tremendously.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts played out of his mind, man. I appreciate the call.
I didn't.
And this is show 43, so we were not together last season.
And I didn't think of the Super Bowl run. The defense was a fantastic part of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't think the defense carried Jalen Hurts.
I think the whole team was tremendous.
I think it was a tremendous year. It was one of those just tsunamis of good things happened. I never thought of that, but I'll never look back on that and say, man, the defense just carried them.
With all due respect,
I'll say the defense was great.
With all due respect to Victor, he lost me at Tanner McKee.
Tanner freaking McKee.
Wasn't
he on Full House?
The Eagles tell you what they think about Tanner McKee. They brought in Kenny Pickett.
Oh.
Right? Yeah. Tanner McKee is still the third-string quarterback of this team. All right.
I get lost on that.
Hey.
Backup quarterback talk always gets me.
Not even backup, third string.
No, I said, but it gets me lost. Then when you go to third string, you're really stretching.
What's Clayton Thorson up to?
Coming up next, we have the key three. I will tell you right now, with all due respect again to Victor, I appreciate you listening to the show and trying to tell us that we were wrong or something when we weren't even a show. His call will not be a part of the key three. Just because it's too late to put it in.
Too late to be in.
That's all.
If it was the key four, he'd be in it.
Yeah, if it was the key four.
How about the regressing? The Phillies regressing call.
Yeah, Jay's call was not in it either.
That's not going to get there
That's
either?
not in the key 4 hours.
I can't believe he said the Phillies have regressed this season. They're 30-13. All right, coming up next, key three. 3 best minutes from today's show, followed by another great 3 minutes. The crossover with Bob Cooney. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
If you're a coach.
Thursday morning. You heard the little promo for it. We mentioned it a couple of times. Make sure you're watching our YouTube feed tonight at 7:30, beginning at 7:30. Andrew DiCecco and Bill Calarulo, a special NFL schedule release show, but it's a Philadelphia spin. You watch the ESPNs and the NFL networks. It's going to be league-wide, 7:30, and then up until, obviously, 8 o'clock when the schedule comes out. It's going to be an Eagles-focused schedule show, so make sure you check that out with two bright Eagles minds, and Andrew DiCecco and Bill Calarulo. We have our crossover with Bob Cooney coming up momentarily, but it's time now for the Kincade Salciunas Key 3.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
What does it say to you that ESPN has the Eagles 5th in their NFL.com power rankings in the month of May, knowing that the team completely blew up last year to the point where you could make the case the offense didn't even show up to a playoff game, right? The offense didn't show up to a playoff game, and the coaching staff was a mess, but they still have, despite all those troubles, the Eagles 5th. And then I'm also going to ask this second part question to it. Are you buying it? Do you buy that the Eagles are the 5th best team in the NFL right now on paper?
I believe they are a top 5 offense.
Okay.
I don't know.
That doesn't mean that they're the 5th top 5 team.
I don't know if they're a top 5 team. 30 wins.
30 wins, man. The first team to 30 wins in Major League Baseball this year. They're 30-13. And so I'm going to ask this question. Are you buying this start? The Phillies are 30-13. Is this team real? And this is why I'm asking you. Like, is this team going to be a juggernaut? The reason why I asked the question, are you buying it, whether or not this team is actually as dominant as they are right now. Every time we get excited about the Phillies, every time we talk about the Phillies, and you can sense that we are excited because what's not to be excited about? They're 30-13. They're the best team in baseball. Every time we get excited, on somebody on the text line, somebody on the phone line, somebody on email, somebody on social media, pump the brakes. Every single time. Look at the schedule. It's been an easy schedule. It's only May. Every time we get excited about the Phillies, we're told to pump our brakes.
I don't believe in pumping the brakes.
The Eagles came in 5th in the ESPN.com NFL Power Rankings well before the season starts. I get it. It's very early. We're still 4 months away from the start of the NFL season. But they came in 5th. The teams that they are behind are the Detroit Lions at 4th, the Baltimore Ravens at 3rd, San Francisco 2nd, and Kansas City 1st. So just 2 NFC teams ahead of them. So that means they are the 3rd highest NFC team on these power rankings. And I find it very interesting because last year, down the stretch, you could have made the case that they were the worst team in football. I mean, they were horrible. They weren't clicking offensively. They weren't clicking defensively. It was just an absolute mess. And yet, league circles, at least ESPN, the people that cover this league inside and out, had them 5th in the power rankings. So that tells you that the league is still expecting big things out of the Eagles this season. That tells you that there is a respect with this roster. There's a respect with the coaching staff, the new look coaching staff that includes Kellen Moore and also Vic Fangio. It shows the respect of Howie Roseman, the moves that he has made.
Yesterday afternoon, he did all day long. That was a fantastic performance yesterday. And at one point, I guess it was 5 innings, 55 pitches, or 6 innings, 55 pitches.
He was spectacular.
It was stupid. And it was so efficient.
No walks, by the way, yesterday. 8 strikeouts, no walks.
And he looked so, and one of the things that he was ripped about last year, that he has cleaned up. The pitch clock has nothing.
No, it's not bothering him.
Has no effect on him anymore.
The great Adam Schefter joins us.
So what is the truth with Jalen Hurts? Is he a superstar, worthy of the contract that they gave him? Or is he a question mark, the way that some people had last year? And right now, the only person who's going to be able to answer that is Jalen Hurts with his play this year. If Jalen Hurts comes out and plays great, again, there are no worries. All set. All systems go. But if he comes out and is up and down and inconsistent, doesn't play well, which I don't expect, but if he has one of those kinds of seasons again, now we're going to start to be in a conversation of who's playing quarterback long term.
This is who he is. This is why we can't freak out when it's a bad outing. And look, I'm going to celebrate the good and also expect that there's going to probably be another head-scratcher outing in a couple of weeks.
I guarantee it.
But this is who he is. He can show you that he could still pitch like the Aaron Nola you saw a couple years ago when he was a runner-up for the Cy Young. And, oh, by the way, the guy that pitches in October and is spectacular.
You asked the question, and I am absolutely buying it.
That they are the 5th best team in the NFL.
That's the neighborhood they should be.
Okay.
That is exactly where they belong.
I said it yesterday. I think that they are contenders for the NFC Championship game. So the fact that they're right there with the Lions and 49ers, the teams that were in the NFC Championship game last year, I think this makes total sense. All right, that's the Kincade and Salciunas Key 3. And now it's time for our crossover with one Robert Cooney. Bobby, good morning.
Good morning, boys. How's it going?
It's going. We're getting closer to schedule release day. Happy holiday.
There's some leaks going on out there, so you got to keep an eye out for that. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun today. I imagine before Amy Fadul and I are done at 2:00 today, I imagine we'll probably have 2 or 3 maybe.
So in my years of midday shows past,
yes,
I usually got a couple during the midday show. I was not expecting many for us this morning.
No.
Around noon, I'm sure you'll have a couple. And then because it's not just the people that cover the Eagles. It's the guy that covers the Falcons that tweets out, hey, I'm hearing.
Sure.
And it's the guy that covers the Rams. Hey, I'm hearing that they're going to take on the Eagles.
And it's a guy who's friends with somebody in the front office. You say, can you just give me one game? And
right,
they say,
exactly.
all right, I'll give you one. Here's week 2, 3, 4, whatever.
I'm surprised, honestly, Bob, and you've covered enough of these beats, that it's this under wraps. Because the social media departments have these for at least 48 hours.
Yeah.
To be able to put together those videos and everything like that.
They can't keep the draft under wraps.
Yeah,
because the picks are announced before.
You have to look at it at a reporter that wants to break it. Like, if you want to break news and you have to call in a favor, does it really matter if you get a week 7 game and it's at 1:00 in Carolina? Like, I would be holding on to, I might be like, hey, anybody want to tell me anything? No? Okay, I'm cool. Like, I'll hit you up for more important
So I'll ask all you, Connor, you as well. Our boss, Scott Masteller, asked us how many 1:00 games do we think? I was going to set the line at 3.5.
Total? Or in Philadelphia?
For the Eagles.
You said
1:00 games.
Total. God, I know. My buddy and I were going over this yesterday, believe it or not, because he has season tickets. Yeah, that's a good number.
That's where I'm
good.
at.
Yeah,
I'll take the over 5.
All right, fine.
Last year was 3.
I'll set it at 4.5 then.
Take the over.
He's going
Under.
over.
Yeah, I'll go under, I think.
4 is that.
It's
number.
a shame. Yeah, talking to a buddy who's been a season ticket holder for years. Really, he only goes to 1:00 games anymore because it's such a pain getting out of there and all of that.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And you don't get any. You don't get any.
But it means the team's good.
Well, they're going to get multiple Monday nights. They're going to get a Monday night, at least one. They know they're going to get it Sunday night, probably 2.
Yeah, we know.
They're playing
Friday
on
night,
Friday night.
Yeah.
Even though that Friday night to me sounds awesome.
The Eagles are made for prime time, baby.
8:15, later start than I thought.
Yeah, I was
Friday
thinking,
night. Who cares, though, right? I mean,
but I thought I forgot it's 9:15
there.
Brazil.
Right, exactly.
So I'm surprised that they didn't make it 7:15. It's a Friday night. Everyone's home by 7:15.
More time for beer.
No, they want that prime time, man.
Yep, absolutely.
It'll be fun.
Bobby will be listening.
All right, boys, be good.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Please join us and our generous partner, H&H Heating and Air Conditioning, and make a donation today to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR. I'm living proof cancer research saves lives.
All right, tomorrow morning, W's and L's for 4 hours.
Oh, geez.
Segment 1 will be just game 1. Segment 2 will be game 2. Segment 3 will be game 3.
You liked what Shefty said today. Listen to him.
Oh, he wants to hear it.
Listen
He
to
said
him.
he's excited for my text when I tell him what the record will be for the Eagles.
Man.
We'll be reacting to the Eagles' schedule coming your way tomorrow and a whole lot more. It won't just be W's and L's, but you